What's up? Hey.
We're not recording.
We are.
Why does it say start recording?
Because we're streaming.
We're streaming, not recording.
That does both.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
It's dual action.
That's fucking amazing.
So much
Technology! Alright, cool. So, I don't know who Hawks 515 is, but he's excited. Let's go, bitches.
Yeah.
We don't like being insulted, so
Let's fucking go.
let's do this. Alright, we don't exactly know what we're going to talk about.
Alright, so
but, we have a couple
I think
ideas.
they said that today's episode was going to be about etiquette. And first rule of etiquette is you don't call the people bitches.
Well, I mean,
What if they are?
I think that you Hawks 515. I think you need this.
I think you need to stick through.
So
one
listen
thing
closely.
that I was going to say when I mentioned that, and then Chris said he liked it, I'm like, this could be a can of worms, because, like, could be argued that, you know, we may lack in a degree of etiquette.
We're talking about etiquette in the game.
In the game,
store.
okay. All right, specifically
I don't
in the
care.
game.
I don't care if you're taking literal shits on people outside the store and in other areas of your life.
I think that
Shit away.
don't be a dick also is part of etiquette. Like, I mean,
Generally,
mechanically,
I mean-
like, don't be a dick. Be the same person when you lose that you are when you win.
Right.
That's a good etiquette lesson.
So I guess for some
Do we need a
some
Webster's
specific
dictionary?
people, then I guess maintaining that same, you know, your level of you could be if you are a dick all the time, like maybe you should just always maintain that and not get wishy-washy.
Yeah,
Confuse
just-
people, you know, I guess.
And just.
Maybe you make that argument too.
Yeah.
I mean, there are times to not be yourself, and if you have to not be yourself around other people, that's a lesson to you. I would say that sore losing is a huge part of game etiquette, and we all know sore losers in Magic and outside of it.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's a huge thing.
And actually, brother and I were talking about this on the way home the other day. We were talking about sore losers, and you came into the conversation, John, on the right side of it, as an example of someone who gets frustrated with the power level of the format, who gets frustrated when their deck doesn't work, and is like, you direct that at your deck.
Yeah,
You direct that at.
Well, yeah, that's the
at a
thing.
mistake you made.
I have definitely had a hard time in the past. I feel pretty good post-COVID. Just the hiatus made me just lose all of that. I mean, there's been a couple times. I was playing Isaiah Morales a few months ago, and he was playing Tron. Of course. I was
that's
playing,
the exception to the
I
rule
was
is
playing
Tron.
humans, and, you know, it's a fucking terrible match. And, like, he had me on lock, but I'm sitting here playing to my outs, and it's just stupid and grindy. And then somebody next to him was like, so you have a walking blister, right? And he's like, yeah, I think so. And at that point, and I did at that point, like, God damn it, Isaiah. God damn it. If you're going to play degenerate shit,
Like, what the fuck is in your deck?
if you're going to play degenerate shit, you're degenerate shit.
Proper etiquette says you know the cards that are
Outside of that, though, I prided myself lately on not doing that. But I will say that my frustration is always pointed at myself or at chance.
Yes.
Never at the other player.
Well,
Never
and
at the other
that's
player.
what I was going to say. The few times that I've had you say something to me like, oh, that's a stupid fucking card. When the game's over, you then say, it's a good card. I get why you play it.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
like
for
it,
sure. No,
like you bring it back
Yeah.
and you recognize
Yeah.
that it's the game.
You get exhausted. And
Yeah.
everybody's going to get exhausted. This is a game that is exhausting sometimes. The variance is exhausting.
It is.
The cards are exhausting. So everybody's going to have those heated moments where they're just like, especially like if you're having a fucking bad day, man, and you're like, this is your escape. And that was what it was for me a lot too in the past, it was the fucking one thing I got to do for myself other than just catching
You got
myself
turn
to
3 troned after you did everything right.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
motherfucker.
And I'm, like, you know, grinding my ass off, tattooing for fucking 12 hours that day, worked 7 days a week. Like, I'm going to get to play some Magic. And like, oh, I didn't get to play anything. Yeah, that's a little frustrating.
Turn
But-
2 Ritual Bloodman.
Yeah. There's a difference between just general frustration and bad etiquette, where you have notes of condescension and like phrasing is a big one for me.
Yes.
Like phrases like the way somebody says sure. You know, not like, there's sure.
Yeah.
And then there's sure.
Yeah.
Or, you know, when you play a card, you make some play like, oh, you got me. Like, maybe fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, maybe don't do that. Like, you don't have to say anything if, like, you know, like, it's those things. Just the way you communicate in the game is a big thing. And that's definitely a thing that a lot of people can lack on is communication.
And I would say we're going to talk about, I have several topics in hand, and for most of them, I don't have anyone in particular in mind. I'm thinking back to the GP we went to. I'm thinking back to Champs. I'm thinking back to all the take
provide
action.
examples.
But I would say that this is probably a good episode of, if you think someone that we might be talking about you, we're probably talking about you. And just like...
Yeah, but we aren't.
We're not.
To be clear, we definitely are not talking about you. But,
personally, like, I'm not talking about you, but if you feel these might apply to you, there's probably a reason you feel these might apply to you, and just be aware of that.
And I mean, and anybody that does know might think that really just knows that.
Yeah.
Or conscious
just do
of it
better. Like, you're a terrible person, but that doesn't mean you can't get better.
Yeah.
Right. No, for sure. It's a simple thing, and it most of the human species problems can be solved by basic communication. So, you know, communicating the right way. So just apply that. You know, just apply that. Just talk some shit out and do it in game. I mean, it's not that big of a deal to just fucking calm yourself down, back yourself up, and just kind of work through shit. You know, but yeah, there's always examples.
I think especially at F&M, anytime you're getting excited in a negative way, remember that you paid $5 for the event.
Yeah.
And it goes on every Friday, twice every Friday, and it's probably not a big fucking deal. There's a 12-year-old in the room. Like, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah. Which, shout out to the person on stream, Caden Weaver. He jumped in on the fucking RCQ, and I'm pretty sure got smoked, and before he left, I'm like, you have a good time? He's like, yeah, I had a great time.
Yeah.
You know, like, bam. Yeah.
Every time I
right.
ask him, how are you doing? And he's like, I got to win. I'm like, hell yeah, man. Get it. Guess if you beat me with AWAC, I'm going to have problems with you. But I'm glad that you won that against that other person.
And it's, like I said, it is hard for people. And it's hard for, you know, ego is a real problem for people in general. I
think especially Magic, complaining about variance is a big one. Or complaining.
Well, yeah, there's, I think it's like not taking any responsibility for your losses. Like, there's some people that just can't accept the fact that, like, maybe you just didn't play optimally, you know? Like, nobody ever says that. I don't hear anybody say that. I mean, I've heard myself say it, so I guess that I'm an exception to the rule. Because I say all the time, I played like shit, you know? I think that's better.
Yeah.
You know, that's better than, like, oh, I got mana screwed. Well, that's part of the game. You know?
Yeah. Well, so it's
like that's still on you. You getting mana screwed is still on you. You're the one that registered the deck with 18 lands.
You're the one who kept the hand.
It's you're the one that registered the deck. You're the one that built the deck. You're the one that chose to keep a dicey hand. You know, like you're the one that chose to not mulligan appropriately. You know.
Yeah, I got run over in game 1 and then I mulliganed to 5 on game 2. It's like, okay. Well, that's on you too. Like, was your 6-card hand maybe?
Yeah,
better?
Looking back, was it?
Or maybe you should have went to 4. You know?
Yeah. Now, there's always variance is you know I definitely bitch about variance, but there's degrees of it where you blame everything on variance, or you just like, man, that fucking sucked. It fucking sucked. I drew that way.
Yeah.
But you know, still. Account for yourself. Still acknowledge what you did and what part you had to play. Because,
And for every time that you run cold and they run hot, there was likely a time where you were running hot and they were running cold.
Absolutely.
And if you feel like that's never the case, it's probably not them running hot and you running cold.
That's, you know, we've said it before. I think we said it on the first fucking time we did this, is like, so you're going to lose. You're going to lose. And anybody that's good at anything
that is part of it.
Fails all the time.
You will lose to people with worse decks that are just like objectively probably worse players than you. That is Magic. It's going to happen sometimes. Sometimes you're going to keep a perfect 7-card hand. You're not going to draw another spell.
Yeah.
Over the course of 10 turns, and you're going to not understand, and you're going to get beaten down by a
Oh, for
5-mana 2/2 that has no abilities that your opponent put in their deck because they don't understand Modern.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen.
the best player, whoever the best player in the world is right now, playing at their most optimum capacity, probably is still going to lose 40% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Something like that. So,
yeah. Has built their career on failures and
that's something
upwards from those.
That was shocking to me when I was just into Magic. I was just devouring Pro Tour coverage, and when they threw up this is one of the best players in the world. He's got a 64% win rate in top competition. I'm like, that doesn't seem like very much. I think if you're the top player, you should be winning way more than that.
80-ish?
I just didn't understand it all. No, that's ridiculous. That is a high win percentage.
No, it is, and it's again, you're going to get frustrated, you're going to bitch. It's just proper etiquette is keep it to your reaction to stubbing your toe. You stub your toe, you're going to say fuck. Leave it at fuck. You keep going and just fucking stomping around your house, shitting on everything, being terrible to your family members and stuff because you stubbed your toe. That's where you should probably stop.
And maybe just keep the etiquette in mind. Instead of being fuck, you'd be fuck, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Be polite.
Good sir.
Put a pinky out. You're all good.
Yeah. Everybody's gonna have bad days. There's gonna be frustrating things, but we all have to just try, and that's part of what makes a functioning community is everybody trying to do their best in a given stress situation. And everybody's gonna slip, and proper etiquette too. On the other end of the guy that maybe fucking slipping a little bit more, proper etiquette of the other guy is to understand and try to help that guy through his slippage.
I think if you're in the other end of the seat, be polite, quiet down a little bit if you're chatter,
right?
And that's proper etiquette. If John is about to blow up because he just got the 15th fucking new exile removal spell used against him, I need to recognize that and be maybe I don't need to be joking about the cards I'm drawing and how well I'm doing.
Yeah.
That's fine to do if we're both in a good mood. It's probably not okay.
Yeah.
If
No,
he's
exactly.
not.
Read a room, man.
Yeah.
Read a room, and you can help your opponent not slip into those moments of just being shitty by playing off of reading them.
Basic guideline: if your opponent is being polite and friendly, and you're really mad, you're probably the asshole.
I mean, I think that applies just
in the
every
grand
living-
scheme of life.
Yeah,
as people look at this situation, you're probably the one who's doing the bad thing.
Yep, for sure.
There's some specific etiquette that I was thinking about in terms of Magic that I think sometimes people expect and it doesn't happen. One was I was just thinking on the way here about slow play.
Yeah.
And I've had situations, especially as the control deck. You guys have seen me play and you've played against me. I play it. If we talk about speed of play on a scale of 1 to 10, Reed Duke is probably a 3 to a 5, right? He's a slow player, but he plays pretty steady. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I would say he's probably around a 4 or 5. I would say
4 or 5?
somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle. I think I'm a little faster than normal. I'm probably 5 or 6. I'm pretty crisp usually.
If you're talking in Hall of Fame pros, I would say LSV's a 10.
Yeah, he's
Gabriel Nassif is a 1, and Reed Duke is somewhere
Wafo
between
Tapa.
the two.
Wafo Tapa's in the negatives. But let's say, and this has come up. It's come up at Take Action. It came up the first round of the GP that we went to, where I win game 1 in 40 minutes because of the control matchup. And afterward, I continue to play at my pace, and the opponent's like, "Hey, you need to hurry up. We need to finish the second game." It's I don't need to change my pace of play.
Right.
You haven't had a problem with it for the last 40 minutes. I don't owe it to you to play faster than normal.
Right.
And I think that's something that people think the etiquette is you play faster to get the game done. It's no, you just don't slow play.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to play at my normal speed. It's not my fault you didn't win game 1 and it took you 40 minutes.
And I've seen instances where some people, when they get in that mode of knowing that they're running out of time to come to a completion or to tie it up or whatever the case may be, where they start playing, they get kind of agitated and they start they start misplaying or playing sloppy and almost they think that if they play really fast and that's gonna
force you to
somehow make you play faster. and it ends up leading to some misplays where.
And they tend to blame those misplays then on that situation.
On the situation.
Yeah, but also I think you also got to look at yourself too, because I've seen specific situations where somebody kind of was playing kind of slow throughout the 40-minute game one. You know, like they were probably the reason that you know. Well, I mean, it's obviously both ways, but they were a huge part of the reason that it went 40 minutes, and then you know. They get the 2-minute warning in game 2, and all of a sudden, we need to play faster. We need to play faster. I was like, yeah, well, you know, it's pretty easy for you to say now, but you did, you know, you did take like 12 minutes off of our clock in game 1 with your slow play.
Exactly, I agree completely, and it's oftentimes the people who are playing a little bit more slowly, at least against me, because I think I play at a pretty reasonable pace, and sometimes faster than I should, and I make mistakes. Who want you then to speed up. But I think the time to address that then, if you're shuffling up for game 2 and you hear 5 minutes left in round, you done fucked up. Like, if you felt your opponent was slow playing, you left it 45 minutes, well, we'll give you 5 minutes to recognize it. You left it 40 minutes too late. And you should have addressed it 40 minutes ago.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what it comes to. It comes right back to what I was saying, where you solve problems with communication. If you feel like that's what's happening, then fucking communicate about it. Like, hey, I mean, I feel like maybe you could play a little bit faster, but, you know, you just have to try to hash the shit out.
Sure.
Yeah. In due time, not at the end, not where you're going to get frustrated, not after you've already gotten frustrated, you know.
I would say that if you're finding that you are consistently going to turns or taking draws, then you probably kind of want to look at that, you know, like maybe you need to learn to speed things up. Maybe the deck you're playing is not the right deck for you, you know, like maybe I mean, not every deck is for every person, and like maybe the deck is good for you, just not good for you right now. Maybe you need to crawl before you walk, you know.
Well, and there is and certain decks need to be played at a given pace because some decks take longer. In a given match, some decks, deck A versus deck B, or you know, certain pairings can naturally create a long fucking game, regardless of how quickly the people play.
Yes.
And it's important, I think, for players to recognize that too, and not be shitty about that. Like, oh, well, you made this take too long. Like, I didn't make this take too long. It's just that, unfortunately, this match takes a while because this deck does this, your deck does the opposite, and I mean, that's the name of the game. Like, there are going to be those moments, and in that moment, recognize mechanically what's happening, and don't put it on anybody other than just the mechanics of what's happening.
Yeah,
you know?
I actually have. It's kind of the same example. This same exact thing happened here. I was playing. It's two different players. They were both playing. It's when the Is It Phoenix deck was popular in Modern. And they were both times, it was a player that was new to it.
Right.
And this is like early in game 1, they cast like Serum Visions. And they're like, think. And like, I put it down right then, you know, like this is game 1. Like, look, you're going to have to, like, if you're going to pilot this deck, like you're going to have to make these decisions way faster. We're not going to get through a game, you know, like, like I it's like, you watch it on coverage and it looks like an easy deck to pilot. There are a lot of like micro decisions, and you're going to be doing the cantrip thing like 3 to 4 times every turn. Like you need to make those decisions way faster.
Yeah, and if you're interested in playing this deck, then you should be familiar with it enough to know that. One thing I definitely would say though, I'll be a lot more understanding with the person if I know there is a real decision to be made. You know, like, I'll never expect somebody to just rush through a decision if it's a real decision.
No, if somebody takes, like, you know, is tanking on something, like, that's important, that's different to me than...
Yeah, some early turn thing that's pretty inconsequential.
If I take more than 5 to 10 seconds on a decision, I typically will say, sorry, I'm just thinking about this. No. I'm aware that, like, I'm taking
I have nothing against calculating. It's when... It's so to me, the actual like where you're being a time thief. And God damn it, Matt Wise is going to think that I'm like attacking him with this, and I'm really not, Matt. This has nothing to do with you.
One of the few occasions where
I give you shit all the
yours.
time, but this is not you. This really isn't you. But it's just people that like they have that like where they're taking a little bit too long to think every turn, you know, about things that like I've seen it. Guy completely tapped out, got one card in hand, and like I have no creatures, and it's like he's basically at combat, and it's just like, what is there to think about? Like,
Yeah,
thinking about whether or not you want to attack into my lands, or
What's the decision?
Yeah.
Well, you might have a haster next turn.
yeah, be an attacker or be a passer, and one of the two.
No, I think that comes back to, like we were saying, just knowledge of the deck and the format. You know,
A good example of this, and I don't think Patrick would care, especially because it was a borrowed deck, and Patrick, my brother, is someone who generally plays pretty quick. As soon as he knows what he's going to do, he does it lickety split.
Yeah.
But we watched him play Grixis Control on camera. And one of the points where I was starting to like the back of my neck was itching, and you were probably the same way of like you've just gotta counter this, man.
Right.
Like come on, counter it.
Yeah.
Like you've got, because we both know that it's a control deck. You've got to make these decisions. Like turn 3, you can't be tanking on how you're handling these threats.
I mean, and so that's where there is a bit of understanding and forgiveness due, I think, is because that's, and if you know Patrick, it's not his thing.
No, exactly.
Yeah. So
That just goes towards the decks.
Yeah, he's working on it, and it's especially worth some forgiveness for in those situations when you know somebody's stepping out of their norm, because that's a positive note of a player if they're going to try to broaden their horizons, expand their wheelhouse. That warrants definite forgiveness and a bit of understanding, especially at a fucking FNM level.
Yeah, and that's where at an FNM, if I was against, let's just say Patrick again, and I lost 1-0. At the end of it, I would probably say, hey man, just so you know, I think you played pretty slow that game. We could have gotten a second game in. Maybe just be aware of that for your second round.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, he's a great example of the speed, the pace picking up. The more familiar he gets.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He's gotten so much faster playing my white-blue deck.
Absolutely.
Just over the few times that he's played it. And that's with me making goddamn wholesale changes like every other fucking week. So, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I also find like I feel like it's probably best not to be too accusatory. You know, like
No.
you
For
use
sure.
the we like we played that one a little slow. We probably need to pick up the pace in these sideboarding games.
Yes.
What's up, Caden? Yo to you too, sir.
Yeah, hello, Caden.
Yeah, if you got any questions, also, young Padawan
that's what
Magic
the
player.
chat is for.
Exactly, ask some questions. So if you got anything that you want to pick our brain about, fucking throw it out there, and we'll be happy to address it. But yeah, at FNMs, man, like that's the time where just man, it's just fucking.
Yeah,
whatever.
always remember the stakes.
It's
If the
whatever.
stake is
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
an FNM,
And you know,
paid $5
if you
enter.
paid real money and you traveled, you know, then I'll forgive a bit of salt from a person in that case, you know.
But also, at the end of a match, especially when it comes to time, part of that's on you. If they were slow playing all game, that or all round, part of that's on you. You should have 20 minutes in been like, hey man, you need to play faster. I'm going to call someone over here to watch for a minute because I think you're slow playing. And if they're not slow playing, it's not their fault.
There was a time at one of the things we went to in Indy that I definitely was a fucking part of the problem, not the solution. And I was playing one of the versions of Humans, and it was one that I was playing the fucking Odric that you pick combat.
Yeah.
Combat. And I got him down. I can't remember what I was playing against, but I'm fucking sitting here and like attacking, lining up blocks, and the guy's like, "Come on, man, just fucking kill me." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just I don't block." I'm like, "Oh, yeah, sorry about that, man. Like I was just in the moment."
I didn't see the
I wasn't
line.
trying to be an asshole. I just, I finally got to make this happen, so I kind of wanted to do it. But
And that happens.
you're
I mean,
dead.
that happens. That happened to Chris.
Yeah.
Just this past
Yeah, it
weekend, where,
did.
like he could have killed his opponent. No questions asked for like 3 turns in a row, and just chose not to.
I
Yeah.
rewatched that like 2 or 3 times, and I realized
That
that
was
like
pretty funny.
2 turns earlier than either of you two, either you guys or he mentioned it to me, I could have killed him.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and you get in the zone and you're just going. And I know.
I think
do
that's
it.
just kind of control player mindset. 'Cause
Yeah.
Like it's just like you taking control of the game. That's kind of the thing. So now you're just going through. You know, the last thing you want to do is get blown out by some bullshit.
Yeah.
You know that. You know, your opponent's playing some off the wall card. That
Absolutely.
Well, and another thing too is that at the end of the day, it's a game.
Mm-hmm.
Games
Yeah.
are intended to be fun.
Yeah.
Like, it's competitive, but it's still intended to be fun. And you enjoy playing the game because you enjoy playing the game. So it's easy to get into a mode where you are enjoying what you're doing.
I've
You
got
know,
it.
and
I've
that's
got it.
so. Talking about Matt Wise, I think that applies to that because Matt's a combo player. He does all this fucking science teacher robot nonsense with his cards. It's fun to do that shit. Like for somebody that enjoys that type of archetype, it's fun to sit there and it's fun to make the thing happen. Like I love that shit myself. Like I love playing those decks and going through the motions and putting the pieces together and you can get caught. You yourself can get caught in the loop of running the deck. So
And that is a perfect example because Matt is someone that after a game I'll bitch about it too, but that's because I know Matt. But like I hate Tron, I hate Blood Moon. And I don't think I do this, and if I ever do this, please call me out on it. I don't bitch about it at the table. If you turn 3 Blood Moon me, I scoop. We move to the next game. If you turn 3 Blood Moon me again, I scoop and I walk away.
yeah.
Like that's
No, your reaction is the same. Every time somebody blood moves you, you're just like, yeah.
But that shit annoys me to no end, and I don't think that I put that on my opponent at the table. If they want to talk to me 20 minutes after the match, like, hey, what do you think of our match? I'll be like, we didn't play a match because you chose to play Blood Moon instead of Magic. Like, But that's away from the table. That's after the game, and that's when you choose to engage outside of the game.
Yeah.
During
Isaiah
the
had
game,
some
just
shit
walk
to
away.
do tonight, Caden. That's why he's not in here. Art and Scales, that's what Matt was playing. Yep, that's his new thing, and I actually like that for Matt because it's
Yeah,
it's
a lot
still
of
the
math.
same.
Yeah, a lot of counting.
Yeah, it's still the same nonsense he likes to do, but he can just murder people with it instead of like just a bunch of nonsense, and then maybe it lines up, maybe it doesn't. Like it's healthy for him for sure.
I didn't find my 15th combo piece. So I spent 10 minutes. I was looking for it. God damn it, Matt.
Yeah, no, that's super good for Matt to play that deck. But yeah, no, I definitely, the thing about etiquette, and this applies to everything in the human experience, it definitely goes both ways. As much as a person should expect etiquette, they have to show etiquette, so it's like empathy, man. It's just it's a two-way street.
And it goes both ways in that it's not just poor losers that have poor etiquette, right?
It's poor winners, too.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can, and you might not even think about it. And that's the whole thing about etiquette. Etiquette is not like an ill intent.
Exactly.
It's a whole umbrella of things. Here's a popular
conscience is what
example.
makes it etiquette.
I know I've brought up at some point on stream before. If you win, don't be the guy that like immediately jams your hand in your opponent's face, like for the handshake.
Still had all these.
Yeah,
Here you go.
like I just kicked your ass. Shake my hand, motherfucker.
No,
Like,
that is
like,
definitely.
let them be the one
Yeah.
to extend that.
Oh
You know.
yeah, no, it's a thing that's always annoyed me as a player because I just am a no nonsense person, and I'm not going to call an apple an orange. Like, if you just fucking trounced me, if I play one of my decks and I play against Tron, and they're like, turn 3 Ugin or fucking turn 4 Ugin and then Ulamog and ha ha. It's like, good game, man. Like,
No.
it wasn't.
It wasn't good games, but good luck.
The appropriate response is best of luck to you. And like,
Yeah.
best of luck to
Yeah.
you too. But like, don't tell me it's a good game. Because it just wasn't. I'm not going to be shitty a person for saying that.
Yeah.
That definitely is a thing
I
that's
think-
said. And
I
it's just
think-
like, that's just
And that's
not
why you
true.
let
That's
the
another-
loser decide to say that.
Yeah.
And that's don't be the guy that says good games if you just kick their ass 2-0 and they
Yeah.
obviously weren't good games.
Never got their feet under them.
But, if you happen to cross somebody that kicks your ass 2-0 and they say good games, maybe don't be the asshole that
That huffs
says
about it, yeah.
that says, they weren't good at all. Like, don't be that guy either.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, just take the annoyance
Yeah.
and deal with it.
Just sit
and
with
walk
it.
away.
Let it
Yeah.
lay next to you at night.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I mean, yeah, it happens. There's all kinds of examples in etiquette and magic. Cutting is a big thing.
Yeah.
How people cut. It's very different locally to.
I would
events.
say I don't know if this is an etiquette thing. Maybe it's just personal preference. But at F&M, if I cut my deck or if I shuffle and give my deck to you to cut, it annoys me a little bit when people start shuffling it.
Yeah.
Like, we're not at a tournament. Those are new sleeves. Could you not, like, double the wear on them by shuffling my deck 10 times before you put it back down?
No,
we're at F&M.
It annoys me as well. It annoys me at big tournaments,
But it could be not bad etiquette. It's just, I think
it's a normal thing. It's at a certain level, it's a normal etiquette to do that shuffle.
If you're at a GP.
For sure. But there's even in that, there's still a lot of variance and it opens up. Because, like, there's a difference between a guy that will do a 2-stroke, 3-stroke shuffle, and there's a guy that fucking sits there.
Shuffles your deck as much as your own, as much as his own.
Just is just going ham, and then sets it down, you know. There's a difference in there's little there's variance in all the shit, and like, that annoys the shit out of me. Like, if I put my shit down and somebody does just a honorable cut, or if I put my shit down, or if they put their shit down and I just do a simple cut and then they do the shuffle thing, I'm gonna pick their shit back up and shuffle until they're done too.
I'm done when you
are. We don't need to do this. Like, I'm not a dishonest guy. Like, the simple cut is sufficient. You know, like that's all we need here. We don't need to go through all this.
Like you said, there's a little difference between the like a local F&M meta.
Oh no, there's a huge difference. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You shuffle however you within reason want to at a GP. You cut their deck however
unless
you
it's
want
pile
to.
shuffling, because that's poor etiquette and it's stupid, and you need to learn. You need to learn that it's not randomizing.
It is allowed, once in a match?
I think so.
It's allowed once in a match, but they even state it's allowed once in a match for the purpose of counting the cards in your deck.
Yeah.
But it is not considered a shuffle of any kind.
Okay.
Like, when you think about it, the whole point of shuffling your deck is randomizing it.
If you put them out sequentially.
Yeah, if you sequentially move every 8th card, that's the opposite of randomizing. That's literally just moving every 8th card.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I definitely, if I sit down at the table and the dude, that's his first go, and that's right when he goes to, fair enough. But after game 2, after game 1, it's pretty annoying to have to sit there and take this extra amount of time, especially if, it went long. And if you're a guy like me that plays shit that goes long, it's like, I don't really need to do this. Like, we already are naturally going to be taking a good amount of time. Like, we don't need the extra 5 minutes.
Let's call it, because we didn't call out Matt earlier. Matt, you pile shuffled against me twice one time. I think you gave me some BS that you were counting, or maybe it was a sideboard thing. I don't believe you. You just took longer than you should have shuffling. There we go. We got Matt mentioned once.
I have actually seen spectated a match once where they had finished game 2, and it was like, hey, you got 7 minutes left.
Pile shuffle,
and like by the just the. Like, multiple pile shuffles and just the riffling and the no sense of urgency, and I'm pretty sure that there were like 43 seconds on the clock by the time they actually
it's too much.
Drew the first card.
The perfect example of this is, I believe it's Conley Woods against Junya Ianaga. At some like top 8 of, I think it was when the Titans were in Standard, but Conley shuffles up, presents the deck. Junya I believe he pile shuffles his deck to cut it, hands it back, and they both take their hand. Conley mulligans, shuffles his deck, presents it. Junya shuffles it, presents it back, then does his own mulligan where he shuffles, and that happens like 3 times. They each mulligan multiple times, and the commentators are like, and Conley Woods, with his head in his hands now, he begins to pile shuffle for the 4th time. It's like, it's awful. Genuinely, it's awful if you do it. No. It doesn't do what you think it does. Just don't do it.
Yeah, it's unnecessary.
It's not good.
Yeah, I'll afford somebody if they sit down with me for the match. Do it then. I don't want to see you doing it afterwards.
And as a side note, because I had someone mention it like offhandedly a couple weeks ago, where they like drew poorly and they go, I gotta mana weave this. I wanted to be like, if you mana weave, you're either stacking your deck or not affecting your deck, because your deck has to be random.
Right.
So if you mana weave it and it fixes your mana, you stacked your deck. If you mana weave it and it didn't fix your mana, congratulations, you have achieved a random deck. There's no, it cannot help you and be within the rules to mana weave.
Yeah, and so there, I would think that there is a difference between mana weaving and pile shuffling.
There is.
Right? Yeah,
There
mana
is.
weaving is actually separating your lands and then doing one, two,
going
one,
spell
two,
land,
one, two.
spell land,
Yeah.
spell land.
Yeah, and then you shuffle it. It's like, well, then why did you?
Why did you do
Why
what
did
you
you
did?
do what you
Yeah,
did?
why did
I
you do
think
this?
the key here is that most of these people just need to practice shuffling. Like you're not
No,
good at the act of shuffling. And I've
dude,
seen there are plenty of people I've seen that just were bad shuffling.
Honestly, shuffling is a bit of a subset skill in the game. It really is, and that's why, like, when new players come to a pre-release or their first, thing, and they're sitting there with no sleeves, it's just like, oh, what the fuck are you doing? Like, not that I care too much about the value of your cards, but that's just it's ridiculous to not have sleeves because you were not going to shuffle properly without sleeves.
Absolutely.
It's not going to work. It's not going to be good. Like, there's just no reason for that. Now, it definitely is. People are bad at it, and there is a lot of it in the game. There is so much of it in the game, and it is exhausting sometimes. It's very exhausting, and again, being a guy that plays every fucking search effect that he can in a deck, I try to be conscious on exactly how fast I'm going at this thing, because I don't want to make my opponent sit there and fucking me take 10 minutes to search and shuffle and fetch and yada yada yada.
And it can go the opposite way. The DreamHack had a couple of opponents from different stores. Maybe they were from different. I don't know. I remember it happening, and
we had
I
some
can't.
new guys for sure.
Well, yeah, but I don't remember who it was, or if I do, I'm choosing not to say. But who had search effects in their deck would shuffle once, put it back on the table, like, you want to cut? I'm like, I don't think that going like that one time counts as shuffle so there's a line. It's just a thing.
There is definitely a line. There's gray areas in a lot of it for sure. Because you can easily just go way too much where you just don't fucking stop, and it's like, come on. I remember my kids wanted to learn how to play Pokemon, so I just randomly Googled the fucking final match of some big tournament. And Jesus, sweet Christ, it was so much shuffling. It was like fucking 10 minutes of it. 10 minutes. For real. And then they fucking sit down and I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to see this game play out. And the dude just plays his whole deck. And I'm like, fuck Pokemon. Honestly, these assholes shuffle for 10 minutes and this motherfucker plays his whole deck on turn one. God, no.
Yeah, I watched Jeff Hoogland test for a Pokemon tournament one time, and it was like 15-minute turns.
Yeah. No, it's... Dude, that game...
Turn one combo decks.
Ridiculous. No, that's when I made the assessment of exactly how little I respect it. Cause I'm like, after watching that and like just reading some of the cards and like, and knowing how the game actually works, I'm like, any skilled Magic player would just fucking bend this game over and do whatever they wanted with it. Like, this is just not a good game.
It's a little ridiculous.
There's nothing here.
Does anyone else have an etiquette topic? I have another one, but...
Go for it.
Okay. So this one, and this is why I mentioned I'm not talking about anyone in particular, because I'm literally not. I don't have an example at the store currently.
Right.
So, like, if you do listen to this and you come to the store, I'm not thinking about you.
Right.
I'm really not. There have been people in the past, but especially at a big tournament, but this is not here. If you etiquette is don't smell, don't have shitty hands, and don't have awful breath when you come to play F&M. And if you just come from work, that is absolutely fine. Bring some fucking baby wipes, a spare shirt, and a stick of deodorant.
Right.
And do a horse bath in the bathroom real quick.
Yeah.
Put a new shirt on, and it's cool. We're cool. I don't care. I get it. I get it that you can't go home and shower. I get you're going to be a little grimy.
Right.
Wash your hands. And don't smell at the table.
Yeah, that's a good one, and that's just good life etiquette.
It is, yeah. Generally, it's just solid across the board. But in a game that you are in close proximity to people, not just your opponent, but the people next to you, especially at big events. Jesus, when you're packed in like fucking sardines.
No, at big events, it's ridiculous.
8 people to a fucking 8-foot table, like. Yeah, it is real bad there, and it's easy, man. It's just be conscious of it. The hand thing for sure is like not having fucked up hands because you are gonna handle your opponent's cards. Sleeves. Everybody that plays this game accepts that sleeves are just a maintenance cost, but they're fucking $10 to $15 a set, and you're gonna like. I don't want to spend that more often than I need to, just because somebody's got fucking gunky ass hands and. They're gonna manhandle my shit and get their grease all over it. Like, that's definitely.
I would say similar though at F&M, if guy sits down next to you and it's clear he just came off a job site and he has a pound of concrete in his beard,
right?
Like, as long as you can't smell him and his hands are clean, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
sure.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's cool. He probably got off 20 minutes ago.
Exactly.
Was just able to make it for 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, and that's why I think the standard is, I think, very low. Don't have clean hands and don't actively smell, and it doesn't matter.
Everybody's good.
Adding on
Everybody's
to the having clean hands, be mindful. Like, we're pretty lenient on like letting people bring in food.
Right.
Like, don't sit there and play while eating a slice of pizza and then
Or something.
touch my fucking
similarly
sleeves and get
greasy.
grease all over them.
Or the huge playmats that Take Action is paid for on their table.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, let me just here. Sorry, my hand was greasy. Like, they paid for that playmat. You know,
Yeah,
what?
exactly.
It's not tablecloth, dude.
Yeah, you can just roll it back for sure. Yeah, roll it back. And so I guess that comes into store etiquette for sure. If you do go to a store that has nice shit, because I mean some stores don't give a fuck. Some stores are just like, here's some fucking janky tables with some lawn furniture, and we just don't give a shit. We actually do care.
Yeah.
We have nice furniture that it needs some maintenance probably by now because it's been a few years since I bought them, but we've got nice chairs.
No, you have nice furniture. You have a nice bathroom. You have hey. There's the next topic. You have nice furniture. You have a nice bathroom. You have a clean store.
Right.
I think have respect for the store that you're going into. Have respect for the players you're with, and just do as much as you can. And
for sure.
no one expects you to be able to go home and take a shower when you got off 20 minutes ago. But like, do what you can.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I dig it.
Yeah, it seems simple enough. It seems pretty obvious, but
Just good life advice.
yeah.
Don't be a dirtbag.
Don't be a
In more
dirtbag.
ways than one.
Yeah.
All right. What else you got on your list over there, Chris?
This comes to after the game as well, and I think a lot of these after game rules can change. Like if I'm playing against my brother or one of you guys, these rules may be different than if you're just playing against someone at a store. But don't give your opinion on the cards in their deck after you beat someone. Don't offer advice after you
This is a
beat
good
someone.
Yeah.
Shut up and say good game if they say good game. Shake a hand if they offer a handshake. Be conversational if they're conversational. Otherwise,
Yeah.
sit there quietly or leave the table.
Yeah. Well, so one thing I think the exception to that is brought on by experience. you
Yes.
know? And so when you see somebody that's brand new or coming from a format into another format, that's
I
an
think
entirely different world.
that's like the wide exception to the rule.
Yeah.
Is if I sit down next to this Caleb guy, and he has made his own deck, I'm like, hey, do you want some advice on your deck?
Yeah, for sure.
Versus if I sit across from, name a guy in the store who's in here every week.
Right.
He probably doesn't need to hear from me why I think his 4-mana
Right.
multicolor sorcery shouldn't be in his deck.
Right.
Like
Well,
that's
no,
not.
and that's how you present it too. Is if you do want to engage a player about what's in their deck and everything, like engage properly and ask them questions about it. Like,
I
don't-
disagree. Don't ask them
don't know.
questions about their deck. It's one thing if John, you go, yeah, I brought this in, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I can
Right.
talk to you about what you brought in.
Right.
If you're just shuffling up and we're chatting,
Right.
I probably don't need to be, hey, can I read that sorcery? I think that might be a little slow. It's like, you don't know what's going through that guy.
Right.
Maybe he is the salty guy who's just being polite.
Right.
Man, you're digging up the salt mine right now. Like, just
fair
let
enough,
it go.
fair enough.
If you don't know the guy, if you're not
read
friends.
the room. I think it's totally fair to ask them about their deck after the match is over. I mean, if you're curious about a certain thing or like
Well, and
just
so,
curious, why do you play this over
Yeah.
this? I don't play that deck. I've just seen both. What's your take on it?
Well, and it depends on what is the nature of the player and the nature of the deck. You know, if it's something that is just fucking burn. I mean, and this would vary. Like some people would say, that's a thing that shouldn't be fucked with. So some guys would probably be like, you can't really fuck with that list at all. But if it's a rogue thing that's super fringe, that's just some random thing this guy created, like, I mean, if it's something that you've never played before or never seen, then yeah, you definitely don't have anything to say about it, because you're unfamiliar.
I agree. There's wiggle room on this one. I think the general rule.
No, I
think I've got actually a really good example here. You did a modern tournament here at one point. I don't know if it was like the old style PPDQs or what. I think it was something like that because there were a lot of people from out of town. And it was early in the day. It was like first or second round. I played against a scape shift opponent, and I was playing. I don't know exactly the flavor. It was probably like a blue-white control deck or a Jeskai or Esper. So I was playing some kind of control deck, and he beat me. And like we're doing like the niceties after, where it's just like, oh, well, this is what I boarded in and out against you,
Right.
And like I showed him, and he's just like, oh, you brought in Vendilion Click. I actually think that's the most unplayable card in Modern. He's like a close second would be Jace the Mind Sculptor, which was in my deck, and it's just like, all right, so you're just a fucking asshole then.
Yeah. Now you have the most unplayable deck, and you're the most unplayable player.
No,
like you can't play this game.
That shit is the like, oh, you got me type of thing. It's the tone and it's the attitude and it's the
I just lost here, dude. Like
condescension. Yeah.
You don't know me. I'm a violent person. I might smash your fucking face in.
Exactly.
No, I don't know. I like seeing people engage. I always, because that's, again, I do think that one of the ways that we fail overall as a fucking species is that we don't engage. So to me, it's just a matter of how you engage.
It is.
And I think that if you genuinely have, because I mean, like, I like to talk to people about their decks, and I might have a weird suggestion that they might not have thought of. And so, here's an example of decent etiquette too, is when a guy is genuinely trying to talk to you about just cards and the deck. Like, some guys would be like, well, that's fucking trash. I'm not going to fucking play that. That's stupid. That's pretty fucking shitty. Like, when somebody's actually trying to engage with you as a fucking decent human being and just talk about the game in general and make a suggestion, like, a lot of guys would be like, well, that's just dumb. I'm not going to fucking do that. Like, that's silly.
I think
that kind of condescension is just not appropriate.
No, it's not. I think that said, even the most, because the thing that whenever I say giving advice, for some reason, Micah Mosher comes into my head, because he's someone that, from what I gather, is very interested in the game, is interested. Sometimes he plays a little bit out there cards. Right. And I've usually after our games, he wants to talk about what's in the deck, and he'll ask me about cards I brought in. He'll tell me about cards he brought in. Right. We have good conversations.
What did you think about this?
And that's great. But I'm thinking, like, we've had those conversations when I've won. We've had those conversations when I've lost, as I think you should be able to.
Yeah,
but when I've lost, and I've been in that conversation, I've been thinking, like, boy, if you started off this conversation with 4 people I can think of in this room, there would have been a minor explosion over the fact that you want to talk about this.
That's kind of knowing your audience.
Yeah, and that's why I say the general guideline is, like, if you're not sure, maybe just don't open the door. Give it a minute.
No, definitely. Because you don't know how somebody's going to react.
Yeah.
And, especially being the winner is, I think, more likely to get a bit of salt. Just in the same spirit of fucking offering that super aggressive handshake after the fact and then being like, well, you should have done this or that. If it's a person with real experience that has real experience, there's no reason to say that, because it could have been a lot of different things. It could have just been variance that made the game go the way it went. So
here is a piece of etiquette that I and a lot of other people fail at. And I think you should, if you're playing a deck where you're making sharks, where you're making soldiers, where you're making tokens, and you come completely unprepared. You have no extra cards. You don't even have extra cards to put down. You're just like, does the store have dice we can use?
Yeah.
You have nothing? You brought nothing?
This is a very actually, this is a good one, a very good one, Chris. This is really important.
I'm pretty passionate.
Because we all are. It's accurate representation. It's accurate representation. I even know a couple casual guys that fucking just lose their shit over. My friend Josiah, like, he'll fucking just go mad over somebody using dice to represent. Like, that's not accurate.
I can't tell if your dice is fucking tapped or not.
Yeah.
Put a goddamn piece of cardboard. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a goddamn Hoyle's playing card. Put something underneath it. I was actually, I'm gonna call out somebody by name here. I was watching Isaiah at the Star City thing, and he was playing against Grand Prix legend Pete Ingram, and Pete Ingram was using the cap to his box of dice as a token. And I told Isaiah afterwards, I'm like, I don't care how many Grand Prix won, I would have told him to put a piece of cardboard underneath that motherfucker.
So what's funny about that specifically that weekend too is that when Isaiah plays Yorion, like most people that play Commander or Companion, they just tuck it in their deck. And Isaiah said that once he was up in that level of it, a judge
that's illegal.
Stop what you're doing. Does your opponent know what that is? And like they resolve it peaceably enough.
Yeah,
but where was that judge to be like, stop what you're doing?
Yeah,
does he know what that fucking dice cap
What the fuck is that dice cap?
It wasn't illegal to have it hanging out of his deck like that, just so long as his opponent understood that was the command. He was using that as the commander's.
I know that you can't put things on
then,
top of your deck for
when he went on camera, they would not let him do that. So they actually gave him a token that said Commander's Own.
Right.
He's like, I didn't even know that these tokens existed.
No, the token thing, the game is based on understanding information. And when you do things to muddy the information, that's not what this is about. And especially that's the fundamental way the game is won, is bodies on the ground, damage that they represent. So if you're not representing that accurately, then something's going to get lost in translation, and somebody's going to get pissed off.
Yeah,
for sure.
If you know that you are making tokens, if you can't find them, if you don't want to buy them, cool. If you need to find extra lands and fucking silver Sharpie your token name on them, I think that's general respect. Yeah. I haven't done it, and I have a me failure story here of I was playing against Yawgmoth dude, Zach. And I didn't see the Sand Warrior or the Warriors up in the thing. So I was like, well, this makes 1/1 Warriors. Are you okay with me using 1/1 fairies? And he goes, yeah. So I used the fairies.
You thought that they had flying.
And then I find out after the game, wait, those don't have flying? I was like, dude, we talked about it. And that's where, even though we discussed it, the fact that it was misrepresented on the board led to him not. I think that game was not going in his favor anyway. But that right there, that could have been the difference between him winning and losing the game because I did not have accurate tokens to represent my cards. So I think that's important. If you know you're making tokens, and if you can afford a foil deck, you can get some tokens.
Yeah, and another thing is if you make 5 soldiers or warriors or whatever, don't put one warrior in the middle of the table and put a D6 set at number 5 on top of it, because that to me looks like one warrior with 5 1/1 counters on it.
For sure.
Absolutely. Even if you've only got one warrior token, put 4 other pieces of cardboard underneath it or next to it.
I think that would be a point of contention with some people. I know some people do like doing that because they feel it represents it accurately, but it definitely, especially for what we do with the streaming, it puts into a different context and perspective, because if you just, if there's no conversation, if you were just viewing, that's the only thing it looks like. It's the only thing it looks like. It doesn't look like anything else, and it's another, dice are huge and need to be accurately used. With Planeswalkers, you'll see some new guys that they don't represent with dice the starting loyalty.
No.
They only represent the plus or minus of what happened, and that's not good information.
Yeah,
that's not accurate, Or new guys will, if there's some static bonus on the table to help them remember, they use a dice, and it's I've explained to so many new players, all that's going to actually do is confuse your opponent and confuse you to, you're not operating at the most efficient if you are needing a crutch enabler with that, so.
And it was as simple as, it happened again at the DreamHack thing. We were at the feature match table, and he was using dice for his creatures because he had the Undying creatures, and we had dice for our life total because the pad wasn't working. And there were a couple stages where we were both like, why is this D6 here? Like, what was this? What was this? Was this your life total? I don't think it was my life total. Was it your life total? No. Was it supposed to be on one of these guys? Like, I don't think so. I think it just fell on. It can be confusing.
It can. There's a lot of moving fucking pieces.
We stopped.
It's
like,
a
we're
six
suspicious.
construct.
Yeah, exactly. We were both suspicious. Like, why is there... Was that you? I don't think you were at that life. I don't think I was either. I think it just was off the shelf. But yeah, I think that's an important one. Accurately represent your board state seems important.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's definitely like... Can't think of anything else that really stands out.
Don't angle shoot.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. That's
I hate angle shooting.
That's really bad. And you don't see
Chris,
it at...
Chris is the worst angle shooter.
What? Listen.
He's been known.
You have a history of angle shooting.
I
If you don't know what angle shooting is, look it up. It's basically, it's not exactly cheating, but it's like taking a little too much advantage of the way the rules are worded. That's angle shooting.
I did at Chimps one time. I lost game one, and as we were shuffling up, I go, and so do you concede? And he goes, yeah. I'm like, cool. Now, he obviously, like, I didn't take that as the match. But it was like, cool, man.
Yeah.
You do concede? And he's like, yeah. He like, just had no awareness.
Oh, go ahead.
I remember we went to some event out of town one time, and the judge explained that they're putting a new emphasis on search effects created by your opponent. So if you have to exile somebody's thing, you have got to let them. It is your responsibility to let them know that they can search for a basic land.
I remember that.
To replace whatever you exiled. And during the course of the tournament, I finished my match early, and I came over and watched Chris, and his opponent pathed one of Chris's things, and Chris just exiled it and immediately did nothing. And then there was like a pause where his opponent almost went to take a game action, then he stopped and he's like, you can search for a basic. And Chris was like, oh, okay. And I was just like, you've got 4 paths in your deck. I know you know what the card does.
Yeah. For the record, I think I was joking.
I don't think you were, because they basically said that, like, we're putting emphasis on this. You must do it, or and you're just like, well, hey, if he takes another game action, I can call the judge, and they're going to give me a game.
Listen, if the judge 2 hours ago said, if you don't do this, you lose the game. That is a rule in the game that you were told about less than 2 hours ago. Fucking tell me to get my land off my Snapcaster Mage. Thank you, sir.
It did make me laugh, though. It was like, God damn it, that's so Chris.
One thing that I do think is a good thing to talk about etiquette. I mean, it doesn't apply so much to most of any seasoned player, but I see a lot of people. I've gotten a lot of people into Magic, and I see a lot of people get into Magic, and I think there are definitely there's good and bad etiquette for helping someone explore the game of Magic and learn the game of Magic, you know? And I think that's important to talk about, like the simple things, like when you've got a new player in the room, and, you know, I mentioned it a little while ago, where, like, oh, you forgot to untap your land, so they don't untap. Like, that's terrible. That's fucking terrible, especially when it's some young kid. Like, that's just... One, it's inaccurate representation of how the game actually functions, because it's not a fucking thing.
I was as a new player, I was told that in FNM one time.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Jeremy that told you that?
No, but I think it was one of his friends.
Yeah, I've seen that happen. But you know, that's a good example of it. Like, there's no reason to do that, because you don't. And it's like, what are you? That's angle shooting. Like, you're gonna make this kid fucking time walk himself because you want to fucking win at some limited event or something like that. You know, like.
And that kind of gets into a rules conversation, which it is a very complex game, and part of that just goes with not knowing how things work, like not knowing, like what triggers can actually be missed and which ones cannot. You know, I know that I just talking to a lot of Commander players, there's this, like, they've somehow got it in their mind that if it says May, then you can miss the trigger. But if it doesn't say May, then you actually can't miss the trigger. You can go back after, and, like, that's not actually how that works at all. That's not at all how that works.
No.
And And it's just understanding how the rules work so you don't end up in those situations. But one thing I will say is for everybody to keep in mind, whether it's a spell or an ability, if you at any point resolve part of a spell or ability, you have to resolve the whole thing.
Yeah, you must try to resolve.
So if it says draw a card and gain 4 life, and like 3 turns later you realize that you drew the card but forgot to gain the 4 life, you have to gain that 4 life. You have to back that up and gain 4 life, because you couldn't have drawn the card if you didn't gain the 4 life. They go hand in hand. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Another thing, going back to the teaching people to play. There's a couple things that I would see, because I enjoy teaching people to play, and I've seen a lot of people teach poorly.
I play Control because of you, Snapmaster.
Right? Yeah. One thing that sucks is to see people, once they start playing, one thing you see a lot from people teaching someone to play is, okay, you do this, 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 and this. This is what you're supposed to do here. These are the decisions you make. And that's not how the game works. No. The game works and functions off of people making their own decisions.
Yeah.
That's a really unhealthy thing to do, because you're not actually teaching them anything about how the game functions.
Let them know the goals.
Exactly.
And try to guide them to how they can best complete those
This
goals.
is how the game operates. Now it's in your hands to make these decisions. That's a huge thing. Another basic etiquette thing for getting people to play is, if you're an experienced player, you already got a collection, and you're playing with some new kid that just got into the game that doesn't have shit, and you're like, all right, let's play, and it's like equivalent to somebody that just has like no budget, just got into the game, maybe at best opened a booster box and has a fucking pre-con, and you're like, yeah, let's sit down and play a game, and they have fucking Yawgmoth, like net list 100% that, and you're just like, just fucking smoke them. Like, that doesn't create a good experience that's going to make them want to play more.
Wizards used to give out those like little 40-card decks. Remember?
Yeah, they just stopped.
They just thought those were brilliant. Those were so good.
Yeah. No, and what sucks is now their intro to play product is packs. Well, we want people to know the excitement of opening packs. Like, we want people to smoke crack.
Yeah, we want them to get a hit. We want them to get a hit early.
We want people to fucking buy your product and get addicted to buying product, because they're trying to chase. They're fucking way late to the game, well after the fact. Let's bank on what Pokemon banked on and made them super successful. Like, I get it, but it's not the game that you cultivated for 20 fucking years. Switching gears to that doesn't do anybody any favors except for you and making you a bunch of money.
That's why your sales are plummeting right now, Wizards. Yeah. That's why you can't sell Dominaria United, even though you put everything in it.
It's frustrating, too, because like Jumpstart is a good concept.
Such a good concept.
But they stick money cards in it, and then it's like nobody can get it after a week of it being released. Nobody uses it for what it's designed for, because every experienced dude in the store that's into the game gobbles all the goddamn product up. Here's 2 kids that are just got in the game that would love to just play some Jumpstart. Sorry, I just bought all the fucking 3 cases the store had because I'm chasing fucking 2 mythics. Like, fuck you, guy.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you. Like,
I mean, I agree.
I don't even know what this is.
It's a thing
I need to know. I just
Jumpstart is a brilliant, like honestly, a great product. I think you open. They're like each pack is like a self-contained half a deck.
Okay.
So it's a box of those packs. You and your partner each open 2 packs, make a deck out of it. You can play.
Yeah,
they're really
themed.
really well balanced, themed.
Exactly. It touches on everything. There's tribal stuff. There's all the mechanics of the game are represented in these packs. And you can just sit down, open them up, play a game, and somebody can actually get a taste for what the mechanics are in the game, how the game functions. Awesome product. It's never done that. It's never done that. Because there's chase cards that people are just like, oh, I gotta get these cards.
I'm playing with. I have a case of it. We've opened like 7 packs or something with a friend, and they have ridiculous luck.
Right.
But yeah, the first pack they opened had a tiny bones or something. I'm like, oh, this is like $30.
Yeah.
And then I think another one I opened. I think it was Allosaurus Shepherd. I think it was the green 1-drop. I'm like, why the fuck is this in Jumpstart? This card was like I think it was $100 at one point. Like, it was ridiculous.
It's
Why is this in here?
because
This is an introductory product.
The only reason is they want to sell product. And,
This is a very casual product. I don't understand.
I definitely think that one rule of etiquette when dealing with getting new players into it is, is fucking try to make the initial experience of the game fun. Don't just play the game. Actually read who you're playing the game with and what's going to be the best way to make them enjoy it and what's going to give them the best experience in it. Not just fucking play some random games and beat the fuck out of them and feel good about yourself,
And this is where, while I hate it, but the Planeswalker decks suck, I think a good introduction, the best one that Wizards gives you to Magic is Commander decks. The Commander decks are pretty well balanced.
No, they're well balanced, but Commander is such a shit introduction to the
decks that were
game.
kind of nice.
Yeah, the dual decks, used to.
So, okay.
Used to be starter decks.
There is a product that still operates and no one gives a shit. The Challenger decks. Challenger decks are good. They're 60-card decks. They're ready to play at a tournament.
John, I didn't even know they were still making those.
Exactly. That's the fucking problem. I do not. Well, they're standard or Pioneer or whatever. They've been themed. They've done modern ones. They've done standard ones. They've done Pioneer ones.
I didn't know that they were still doing these either.
But regardless, maybe they just stopped. But we just had some a little while ago. I'm pretty sure they still do them.
The last time I remember, it had there was hubbub about it because it had Hazard in it or something. The red one did.
Yeah. And they had some chase cards in it too, and of course, so it's the fault of the goddamn community to not recognize. It's one of the things I hate the most.
It's not the fault of the community, but please finish.
No, it is, because they buy into it. They fucking buy into it, so it is the fault of the community.
But I think it traces back to it's the fault of Wizards, because Wizards has very vocally said and has made it clear with how they produce things that you're buying their product for value.
Oh, I know.
And so the community no longer expects a good play experience. That's not what they're looking for, because Wizards is telling them that's not what we're trying to give you. We're trying to give you value.
I get that.
So
I know that's,
I'm not even looking for the challenger decks.
I know that's the
Wizards doesn't talk about them.
Yeah, I understand that, but it's still, there has to be some accountability from the people. And I see it all the time when there's a reprint set and every person that, these money reprints, these fucking stupid reprint sets, my cards just fucking lost value. And then the next day you see them like, did you get any of that? Oh yeah, I bought fucking 3 cases. Really? This is not helping anything.
I agreed with you, John, up until I started this sentence. But I disagree with you now. No, I disagreed with you until you started saying that you blame the community, and I realized that I've shifted, because I used to feel exactly the same way.
So I'll say this. I don't just blame the community. No. I want the community to have a bit of accountability for what's happened in the game, because a company like Wizards, even if that's their intention, if that's their goal, if that's their plan, the plan requires people to buy into the plan.
I agree.
So they share a degree of responsibility, and that's what I'm saying in essence. I'm not putting it all on them.
I agree. I know you're not, but I'd say D&D has changed my opinion partially, because I'm trying to give the same way I look at D&D now to the way I look at Magic, and that is when I play D&D, I know that there are people that I'm playing with who this is one of the highlights of their week, is coming to play D&D. I know it. They've said it. Sure. I get it. So when Wizards, genuinely, it's one of the brightest points of their week.
Right.
So when Wizards keeps pumping out these things, I don't feel anymore like I can blame the guy who, a new Magic set, that's his thing. That's what he's got. He doesn't like it. But if he doesn't engage with that, he doesn't get anything.
No,
so there are people who almost can't engage or can't not engage, because that's all they have.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying that we don't have people at D&D, if anyone listens to this, who say that D&D is all they have.
Right.
But I know that that's a lot of these people. It's that's their thing.
Yeah,
is Magic the Gathering.
That's what hobbies are.
They can't do anything.
Yeah.
But it's more to people than a hobby.
So the thing
I can't blame them. I just can't. I get it.
And like I said, I don't completely just blame them, but it bums me out, and this just applies to
fucking bums me out too, John.
My assessment of every person in the world right now is that no one will have any intention of maintaining any kind of fucking moral fortitude in any regard, and Just try to break a cycle, you know? Like, everybody can acknowledge that... What are you looking around for?
Sorry, no, continue.
I
got lost somewhere in the woods. What level of etiquette are we talking about right now?
We've strayed a little.
We have strayed, but I think it's still there. About this particular subject, one thing that I point out that is frustrating is it's how it's perspective and how people, when somebody opens a pack, the express thing from Wizards is value, and they want to make sure they get value, and everybody investing into something wants an amount of value, but it's how you define value, you know. To me, there is value, again, in the experience and in what it is, and so it just sucks to see people open packs, and people will just open packs like, I didn't get any money. Put the pack down. They don't give a fuck what the cards are. They have no idea what the cards are. They didn't even look at the card. They went to the rare. Oh, there's no money in here. Fuck this shit. And that sucks, and it sets a bad example for new players, because then, that's what I'm saying, that's what makes me frustrated. I don't blame the new players. I blame the guys that should be the stewards of the shit, too, when they open a pack, and there's this kid that just started playing, you're like, man, look at this art. This is fucking cool. Hey, this card's really neat. You could do something with this card. You could do this, and that. Like, actually talk about the cards, but the only thing that's talked about in the game anymore is value.
Power and value.
And it's just so frustrating.
It is.
And so the etiquette tie here is, like I said, to be the guy that's opening this pack that is experienced. You don't need the fucking cards in this pack, you know? Like, you are the guy that is just opening the pack because, like, fuck, we got some extra money, let's play the lottery.
Yeah.
Like, the failure of etiquette there is to not try to show the newer player what else is in the game experience. You know, like,
I feel like you used to have a bin here for labeled cards for new players or something like that.
I think we tried. You were there. I've tried a few.
And that's the thing you can do though. If you're opening up a pack and you're looking for specific cards and what you want is not in there. I mean, we actually had somebody this weekend is like, does the store want any of these cards? If not, I'm just going to throw them away. Just like, what the fucking...
Well, no, and I'm one of the...
There's a kid over there.
Go get
We were just talking about it just the other day, and I'm actually proud of the store, because since Caden started playing, like, in any store ever, or at least, I don't know, it's always been the way here, for any of the players that play a take action since the beginning, if there's a new player that seems even, like, remotely like, oh, this kid might actually be into it, every one of our players has always been like, hey, man, here.
Yeah.
Take this shit. Here you go. You want cards? We got you, buddy. Like, we're opening packs. This is all your shit, you know? And so, and that's good fucking player etiquette, man. The new players in the game are important, and we've talked a lot about it before, and I hate that Commander... The Commander precons are balanced. Commander's a fucked format.
I agree.
It's not balanced, and it's not a good example of how to teach somebody about the game, and it's a disservice to them as players.
I actually have something to contribute. When it comes to like teaching somebody new about the game, I actually have experience with this, and because I actually taught my wife how to play. And what I did was I took, everybody's got like these huge bins of like commons and uncommons that are just taking up space.
The best way.
Yeah.
I built 5 separate decks. 40 card limited size decks just out of commons and uncommons. I just did one of each color. That way I could teach her all the mechanics of the game, but then also kind of teach the color identities at the same time. And you could tell right away, like, I could see, like, because we kind of just swapped out. We played each deck against each other, and through time, you could tell right away which style she was leaning towards, Like, she's like, I don't like it. Like, I don't like green. I think it's stupid. Like playing these little elves and then having 5 mana on turn. Like, shit, I don't like that. I don't like that.
And that's why the Jumpstart product was good, is because it gives people a taste. Because that's what matters is teaching the mechanics of the game. Because somebody will find their way. As soon as they get into the game, they get introduced. If it's in a proper introduction like that, where you're actually illustrating what the game is, and not the money value of cards, or not even power in cards, but just what the game is, the game is fun. Just by itself. You don't need a bunch of fucking power shit. You don't need a bunch of crazy cards. You need the game. That's what makes Magic fun, is the game. And so when you show people that, they get a better experience. They will, if they continue on, will be a better player because they actually understand the game.
And I've just remembered from Dustin describing this, Card Kingdom produced and may still produce battle decks, which is they had like 4 pros on their staff who just went through and made draft commons and uncommons decks. Yeah. They made them all to be balanced. Right. They made them, I think they were 60 card decks, but you can buy them. You can just buy balance.
Yeah, I threw mine together pretty quickly. Yeah. I mean, I was doing a monocolor, so it was pretty easy.
Yeah,
Eventually,
if you don't have it, and that's where like the lack of the product sucks because they've hit it on the nose several times with good scaling product. Even like the old shitty Planeswalker intro decks were something. It was fine. And like having an actual scaling thing to really let someone acclimate themselves to the game that it is, the person will find their own way, and then the person will be the guy that just buys packs, because once you're in the game, you do that, and it's fucking whatever, and you're excited about just collecting and whatnot, but it just, the baseline should be teaching the people the game, because if people really understand the game, they enjoy the game, they continue to play the game.
Agreed.
I like building my own because it allowed me to kind of like reel back on it a little bit to really teach the basics, like not have too many like overcomplicated mechanics.
Right.
I tried to get I focused on like the basic things, like blue's gonna have a counter spell or a bounce spell, black's gonna have some removal. The creatures like blue's gonna have some flying creatures, and green's gonna have things with trample, and black's probably gonna have something with death touch, and red's gonna have something with haste. So teaching the keyword abilities of the creatures, I thought was kind of just like that's like core basics.
Yeah,
back to
and that's
when I first learned.
Yeah, and that's what makes the game, and that's what those interactions are still fun. Just playing, just combat with basic mechanics is still fun. It's like limited's the best way for somebody.
And it's an easy way to learn.
Limited, that's what matters. Like, you'll get blown out by a goddamn combat trick.
I can't imagine.
You'll get blown out by +2/+2,
I can't imagine trying to teach a new person the phases of the game, along with the combat, all the keyword abilities on all the creatures, and then at the same time be like, okay, so this is how Cascade works, and this is how.
Don't forget your Saga trigger after you draw.
Exactly, and that's what Commander does. So the good thing about Commander as a tool to teach new players is it touches on flavor. That is a big part of getting somebody interested, is the flavor behind something. But the wheels fall off immediately because, here's this flavorful, cool guy that you can, this deck is based on. Then it's like, but here's all this fucking nonsense that you're not even remotely prepared to comprehend. And then if you do manage to get through this and want to keep playing this, then you're going to be trapped in very toxic collecting, buying, and playing patterns that are just really not the right idea in the game.
I agree.
So
I would say advice for anyone making your own decks: only put 2 4s in them, or 1 4s. All your creatures should be 1 4s in every deck.
Big one. They should all fly too. 1 4s that fly.
1 4s that fly. Every deck.
That's actually when I'm helping a new person think about the game, like critical thinking. That's the first thing I do is I'll take a screenshot of a creature that's a 1/5 and a screenshot of a creature that's a 5/1, and show them both photos and say which one of these creatures is better.
Yeah.
Because they almost always go with the 5/1, and then just being able to sit back and explain to them how, this just dies to everything.
Right.
Or nothing's attacking through this 1/5.
Yeah. And then so that's where, another reason why Commander fails as a teaching tool is because every card is just power. You're not learning the game, you're learning to play powerful cards. That's all you're doing. You're just jamming power on power, power. It's fun, I guess, but it's not anything good for anybody. But no, really, the basis of what I was trying to get to when we went on that tangent was just, read. Try to, again, it goes back to what we said earlier too. Just read the people you're playing with. Be conscious. Again, etiquette is just empathy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
I think I have another etiquette topic here.
Oh, good.
This was advice to Isaiah to not let other people do to him during the tournament at the SCG Open or whatever.
Right.
But do not tell your opponent what they're about to do. Don't assume decisions.
Right.
Don't start to pick up a creature when they cast a spell like that's what they're going to target.
Right.
It's telegraphing your own thing.
It is.
It's rude to a degree. It's like, no, I didn't do that. And it's an angle shoot thing of like, you know what's in your hand. So you're like, oh, probably this, right? And then they do that, and then you fucking slam your bomb down like, yeah, you chose that one instead of my mana dork, didn't you, you idiot?
Yeah.
That's not
just
cool.
keep it clean. Like
Keep it clean.
Let the game mechanics be the game mechanics.
Wait until your opponent passes to start drawing your card and untap your lands. Don't be huh?
Yeah.
They untapping now?
Right.
That's something that I struggled with as a newer player. Was like, it was against Justin Wilder, I think his name is. He's a fucking slow player too.
Justin's pretty slow.
Yeah, but I would always like.
Good, but man,
He's calculating.
He's a very good player, but
awesome,
he
man.
played real slow.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It was fun though because he would just like walk you through everything that was happening.
yeah. Announcing your phases, waiting for your opponent to actually announce what they're doing before you assume what they're doing.
Yeah.
People do it all the time.
Yeah, don't play your deck, let them play their deck.
Yes, exactly.
For sure. No, it's definitely a big thing that play the game honestly as the game is meant to be played, and that's another reason. It goes back to just why I don't like a lot of casual things as a way to learn the game because it creates super bad habits. Good etiquette for anybody playing any kind of Magic, Commander, just the fucking extinct dinosaur of just what used to be casual Magic, any of it, pay fucking attention. That's like one of the most best etiquette things that should be a focus all the time. Pay the fuck attention to what's happening. You know, like, don't make your opponent rewind and go back through some steps because you weren't fucking paying any attention.
Oh my god,
you know,
etiquette.
like,
don't, if you're at a tournament, there's some wiggle room at F&M. Don't try to take back what you just did.
Oh, hell no, yeah.
I counter that. It would do that anyway. Well, then I don't counter it. Like, no, you countered it.
Yeah, don't don't put a card into play. And move on and be like, I feel like I could have. Like again, when you're playing casual, you're testing. It's one thing, especially if you're testing. You do want to do that. You do want to walk back through shit. But if you're actually playing a game,
you see this in Commander every weekend, where it's like, oh, I was supposed to have 3 more tokens in play from like 2 turns ago. I'm like, so yeah, I just blocked with those.
just pay attention to the fucking game. Do the game right, man. Play it the right way, and it's a better experience when you do play it the right way. When you play it sloppy, it just gets fucking clunky and not that much fun. And you know, there is always wiggle from tier to tier to tier of Magic, from your tabletop to, you know, playing on the side at a store, playing in an F&M at a store, playing at an open. You know, there is shit scales, but in general, just fucking play the game right.
It happens all the time. It happens at pre-releases probably the most, but it happens all the time of like attack. Oh, I block here, and here. Okay, these 2 die. Like what? These 2 guys have first strike. Oh, well then I'll block like this, and like. And a lot of times people will be like, okay, but like it's well within etiquette to go, no, you declare those blockers. Well, sorry, you didn't read my cards.
Yeah, the game like
those
Magic
creatures are dead.
Functions to a degree on an honor system.
Yeah.
You know, like we know what the rules are, and if you know, you know. Like you can't fucking just be sloppy like that and expect somebody gonna hold your hand. Like it's bad etiquette to expect somebody to fucking hold your hand.
And that's the reason too that I think, just as a good rule of thumb, if you play a card that does more than one thing and someone says, what does that do? You can push the card to them and say, here you go.
Sure. Yeah.
If there's a super complicated interaction where that is like needs explaining, explain it while they read it. But
I don't know if this is a me thing or if this is an etiquette thing. Don't read every fucking card to me.
No.
So
I don't know. So I don't need that. I don't need that.
You know what that is?
It goes a couple ways because
I feel like you don't know what your cards do.
Yeah.
that goes to reading the player, right? There are some dudes that honestly, there's nothing wrong with reading everything they do too. But again, when it comes to experienced players, experienced players don't need to read the cards to each other.
No.
Experienced players, honestly, don't even need to fucking talk.
Yeah.
You can tell shit and point.
Yeah.
And we're all going to get it. So it just comes back to reading reading each player, you know, like there's not a need a lot of the time, but some guys, it doesn't hurt. Like if you're going to play with some brand new kids fresh off the street, it's important to at least, if you don't read it, make sure he knows, like, I'm playing this card, I name this card. This card is happening.
Mm-hmm.
You care?
Well, there's a big difference between naming and reading the whole text, and I think, I bet, Dustin, that a lot of that, because I watch some content from, like, Solarian Community College when they play Commander games or old formats, and for production, every card that they play, they read what it does
for sure.
For the production.
To me, it goes right to slow play.
So,
this is going to go really long if you're going to read everything.
I would bet that a lot of people, especially newer players, are coming off of watching that stuff, and they're like, oh, so all these guys that I look up to in videos, I'll read all their cards. So here you go.
No,
I'll read all my cards that I play.
For sure.
No.
No, I think it's important. Again, communication is important in the game because it is a game that's based on some degree of an honor system, like we said. There are guys that there's nothing wrong with reading cards to because they might need it. It might be something that they've never seen, especially like you guess a guy that's been out of the game for 5 years.
No, I'm talking specifically about like
experience to experience players.
No, I'm talking about just specifically about the guy who like this is like just immediate, like just every single card that they play, they gotta explain it to me, and it's just like I know what the card does.
Right,
know?
but I know. But
I normally say like, look, I know what the majority of the cards do. If there's something I don't know, I'll pick up your card.
I say the exact same thing. If I have questions, I'll let you know.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm just saying that it's important to be conscious of who you're playing against.
For sure.
You know,
that's part of etiquette as well.
Yeah, not everybody. Isn't going to apply to everybody. But yeah, no, you get guys that. And there are guys that I've seen plenty of guys be fucking super snide about things, and it's not healthy. But you know, it's just. Read the fucking room. Read the players you're playing against. Make sure that you know who they are, and just because that's one thing I hate about Commander players is how they just don't give a fuck about any part of the game. Really, they just fly through everything. They just don't care about the maintenance of the turns and shit, man. They just fucking huh? Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's etiquette. It's bad.
Commander.
It's bad. It's bad etiquette to not actually operate the game.
It is
the way the game's supposed to be operated.
You like your beautifully constructed chocolate factory, where it's like it's science and it's beautiful, and fucking Willy Wonka's is next door shitting out Oompa Loompas, and you're like, that's not how you actually. Everyone knows that's not how you actually make chocolate, right? Yeah. Like he for sure is buying that chocolate in. Like that's not actually how you make it.
No,
but
I get it.
Sometimes people just want to punt an Oompa Loompa across the room, John.
They
that's okay.
But I'm just saying, we're just talking about etiquette, and I think that's an important thing for etiquette is to play the game the right way.
No, you're right.
And again. Reading the room, if you read the room and read the guy you're about to play and you can tell this guy doesn't give a fuck, then yeah, sure, don't give a fuck with him and you can have a jolly time fucking off and Charlie Wonka's Chocolate Factory now, it's whatever. But yeah, just you know, if I sit down against the guy that I know is experienced, I'm gonna go that's like if I go play in an open. I play different at an open because as per etiquette, I'm going to play this game the right way because I expect this person's going to play the game the right way and expect me to play it the right way. And
related etiquette to that is, for me, what I announce triggers, I announce when I'm changing phases, and that gets heightened at a tournament. And it's amazing. It was amazing to play at a higher level tournament where it's like, holy shit, everyone's like super crisp.
Yeah.
Like we're announcing things.
Exactly.
And I think that should be etiquette of,
like on the stack, hold it above the table. It's not done yet. When you got anything? You know,
I think that you should talk exactly enough so that your opponent knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if they have a question about what the card reads besides what you're currently doing with it.
I do get annoyed at people who go a little too over the top, you know, with their, or like...
Oh, there is over the top.
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, in step, I want to do this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, fine. Resolves is cool. Okay, I'm gonna move to my draw step. If it's.
Oh yeah, like come on.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Come on.
Untap,
exactly. Say it.
Like, it's cool to just go untap, upkeep, draw.
Exactly.
Draw. Like that's how you do that.
Grunt per stage, and I'll get it.
I'm a little more lax. Like I don't skip any phases, but like I'm not gonna announce my upkeep to you. If you have actions during my upkeep, that's kind of your responsibility to let me know. You know, like before.
I only say upkeep so that I don't have to listen to people complain halfway through my turn. Oh, I was going to do something in your upkeep. Well, I fucking said upkeep, and you didn't say anything.
Yeah, no,
so
I
that's on
usually
you.
will say, I will usually say, I'm going to move my end step and pass turn, but I have actions on your upkeep.
Right.
Sure.
You know.
I usually, as they're untapping, I'll say, I'm going to stop you in your upkeep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to just so you know,
no,
I'm going to stop.
it's simple stuff like that. Yeah, just
But-
all you need is a word, untap, upkeep, draw, main, move to combat.
The elementals have not helped with this because, and nor have the lands, because now even when I have fucking Teferi out, like I do things on their turn and they're like, yeah, I can't play anything. I'm like, you can now. You could cast the land. You have like I don't know, man. Like there are multiple lands you could play.
Yeah.
If you're telling me you're not going to do anything this whole turn, cool. I'll just do my thing. But like. You could do something, and people get mad if you assume that they can't. And they're like, well, I could have done something.
Or something.
Yeah. Like, well, I could have played something there, but you didn't pause.
Yeah.
So I give people a chance now.
Well, and that's the thing, yeah. The announcement, me verbalizing something is the pause, and that's why that's all you really need is like that's the
I just
pause.
think
If
that's,
somebody doesn't register that, I'm just saying that's as far as I go with the etiquette of that. Is I'll give them that.
Yeah, for me, it's like snap. I'm just waiting for a nod. Just something, a shrug, anything,
exactly.
and I'll move
Just
on.
I'm just saying, if you move your opponent passes turn and it goes to your turn and you draw a card and they're like, oh, I was going to do something on your upkeep.
Well, yeah, no,
it's
that's
like, you know what? That's not my response. That's your responsibility when you pass the turn to me to let me know, because the first thing you do is untap, draw a card. That's how you do it. I get that there's another step in there,
Well, and
but
so
mechanically, that's what people do.
Yeah,
Well,
like those are the
and
actions
that's-
that are taken.
Yeah, and it goes back to, somebody like, oh, you forgot to untap your land. Like, everybody knows this happens. Everybody knows these things happen. If you're playing it, especially that level of tournament, you know what's happening. You know there's an untap. You know there's an untap.
That is a trigger
you know?
with me, though, man. I'm sorry, new people. I'm sorry. I'm a horrible person. But when I see somebody that, doesn't untap their lands
Draws
and draws a card, I think that, I either think that you're, really new or, just not very smart. It's one of those
No,
things.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like,
No, and I think that they've been done a disservice because they're probably just commander fans.
I knew I was going to go back. As soon as John started talking, I'm like, man,
you got any other etiquette things on your list?
none that I can pull out right now. I think that was the main.
Yeah,
that
I
was
think we
the main
covered
thing.
pretty much fucking everything.
All right.
really.
Well, I have a fun story that I thought of when we were talking about the events of the SCG, and it's kind of like, I guess we can call it a preview of our next episode, which I think is probably, an upcoming episode, maybe not the next one, but we're going to do an episode about mulliganing and sideboarding.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
I've got one, and it's related to sideboarding, and it's not really what that episode's going to be about, but it kind of is just like a thing I've noticed, a trend. Have you guys noticed the trend of these random decks playing the Emrakul, the Promised End, in their sideboard?
Yeah, it's a hot thing. The card's way more expensive than it should be right now.
And one thing we will talk about in this sideboarding thing is people over sideboard.
Oh,
And there are some people that will have a card in their sideboard that they bring in against everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to tell you, man, that's never right. Because if it was good against everybody, it'd be in your fucking main deck.
yeah, for sure,
100%.
exactly.
So at this event that we went to doing the 20K, I had an opponent board in against me playing Living End. Emrakul, the Promised End, against Living End. All right? So here's the board state. I've got a shit ton of fucking creatures in my graveyard. A shit ton. I've been cycling every turn forever. He's got nothing to say about Living End. The only thing that he's got going is a little bit of pressure and the fact that I haven't found my third land to cast any of the 4 Cascaders I have in my hand.
Right.
Yeah.
He casts Emrakul, the Promised End. You guys know how this card works?
Yeah.
Your opponent gets to take your next turn, and then after, you get an additional turn.
Right.
Thank God, opponent. Thank God. My additional turn was a basic forest off the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
After, it was actually 2 lands in a row, because so my opponent, the extra turn was actually drawing the top card. seeing that it was a land that wasn't a fetch land, so he couldn't like fetch it out, and then looking at my hand and realizing that he was dead. You know, like that was the extra turn. Is like, well, what can I do here? I can
Nothing.
cascade and not cast Living In, and then he'll take an extra turn and cascade and cast Living In, and then I'll be dead.
Maybe he only has one Living In. Wait, no. That's not how that works.
Oh yeah, it was hilarious because he just like he looked at it and he'd like look at all the cards in my graveyard and like I was actually surprised that he didn't just scoop. Like he did actually scoop when I put Living In on the stack. I did think it was kind of funny, and it honestly wouldn't have mattered anyway because the top 2 cards were the land. But I had gone several turns just trying to get that damn 3rd land. And as soon as he cast it, I was like, this is going to give me 2 looks. I was about dead. This is going to give me 2 looks. This is great.
Thanks, man.
One thing that for etiquette, as far as that goes, one thing that it's arguable to a point, but fucking scoop when you're dead. You know?
Yeah.
Just, like, if somebody really does have an out, if you really do have an out, and you're playing to an out, by all means. But if you're going to spend 10 minutes just
I do think you can scoop too early, though. I do think
you can.
I do think that...
and that's why it's arguable. It's a fine line.
It is a fine line. I actually... I think that you've had a tendency to scoop too early a few times, John. I've seen it. I've seen times where, like, you were not 0% to win that game, you know? And, like...
Well, I thought it comes to just a sense of courtesy that I know that I do wacky shit and my decks tend to be grindy and take a while. So,
you
like
think?
that. Yeah, I know. I don't want to make somebody sit through.
I was 0.
You know?
I have one game where it's just like, I don't think I can win. And then, like, you draw and you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot that I have this. And this goes into this and then this. And like, things snowball. Like, it happens.
At Chimps one time, you and I were playing. And I remember I was like, I'm just going to scoop. And you said, wait, like you're not dead here. Like the game's not over. And I ended up winning the game. And I remember because I got the, at the time, expensive foil Gideon out of the prize pack that I won. And you were like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
That prize pack is mine.
I would not let you concede.
Yeah. You don't get, no.
I get that. And that's why, like I said, it's arguable. It's a fine line. But we see plenty of times where people just fucking hold out and hang on, and you just know, and it's just like,
so like,
just do a gentleman's thing. Just be like, yeah, fucking.
Game 3 against Patrick Mosher, when I've ultimated Teferi and I've exiled all of his lands, and he keeps playing because we're joking. Like that's cool.
Right.
If you're in a slump and you're just not happy, and you're 0 outers to my hand of 7 cards, you probably don't need to be in a bad mood for 5 more minutes.
Exactly.
You can probably be in a bad mood somewhere else for 5 minutes.
Yeah, just go
you
fucking
don't need to sit here.
nurse your wound. And exactly. And that's something too, just how you handle things that happen in the game. I guess we didn't talk, we probably broached on them. I don't think we talked specifically, and I know in the past I definitely have been a fucking, I have done this thing, but just have as good an attitude as you can. Like, even if you're getting fucking slapped around, like, just fucking take it, man. Like, just handle it and don't get too fucking frumpy about everything. Like, you're well gone out of the game, and you're just fucking being, just mop it up.
100%. And we talked about the verbal stuff, but it's also non-verbal. Like, you don't need to slap your opponent's deck down. You don't need to harump when they draw cards. Yeah. You don't need to sigh when your stuff gets countered or killed. Exactly. You don't need to talk about the amount of the chances of them drawing that. Like, you don't need to.
Exactly. That's one thing
like,
that I hear.
All that stuff is just not
in the stores. Oh, if I had one more turn, like, well, yeah. Sure.
Oh, that's actually that goes into magic pet peeves. And here's the thing about if I only had one more turn, that's asking an awful fucking lot.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
You know, they made a card that gave you an extra turn, and it's not, you can't play with that anywhere.
Yeah.
Because it's really fucking good. Getting an extra turn is a huge deal.
Yeah.
That's not like nothing.
Yeah.
5 mana is about the cheapest you're going to get to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I had hit one more land drop, okay, that's sure.
Yeah, if I would have had this card, if I would have seen this, and again, like, It's these are things that, like most all courtesy in the human experience, and just being a decent person in general, it takes a little bit of effort, man. It takes catching yourself, calling yourself. We've all been shitty here or there. Everybody's done it. Nobody's fucking perfect. And again, that's what, like, as I said before, etiquette's empathy. It just takes actually fucking like, you should dial this back a little bit.
And as you've said, John, a couple times, the way you say it matters. Like almost all of the stuff that we've said complainy, if you say that with a good attitude to your opponent, if you talk about, man, if I had drawn one more mana, I think I could have done this. Maybe I could have dug my way out. It's very different from, if I had one more land, I could have... wrecked your face.
But like, just think of that. If you're ever like feeling like you want to say that if I just had one more turn, also, it goes both ways, dude. If your opponent had one more turn, you would have died 2 turns ago.
Yeah, exactly.
If all these things had lined up,
if my deck was different and your deck was different, and I had been on the play instead of the draw, and you had made 2 more mistakes, I would have won that game. Yeah. Like, you make a good point.
I definitely think the closing thing is just to be aware of yourself, be accountable for yourself. You're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna fucking, everybody's gonna have a bad day. And you might be a little short here or there. Just try to be conscious of it when you do, and try to make amends the best you can after the fact.
I would also say, if you're coming to the store in a bad mood, you probably don't need to come out to FNAP. Sure. If you're in a bad mood today...
Well, I come into the store in a bad mood like every
Sure, but I very rarely have... Actually, I don't think I've ever... You do any number of things that annoy people. And are verbose in ways that people probably wish you weren't, but like dirty, growly, mean-spirited. I've never seen you just be that to someone, but I have seen other people.
To Blake.
Well, but I have seen you come in. Or I've not seen you come in, but I've seen other people come in and like from the beginning of the night talk about that they had a bad day at work and they're not in a good mood.
Yeah, and
talk about they didn't get any sleep. Yeah. Talk about they're not happy with their deck. It's like, hey, if you're gonna start the night like that, and you lose round 1, why don't you just leave? Well, you can just not come out. Magic
is a game that will fucking piss you off. It's a game that it'll test you, man. It'll try it, for sure.
And I think that's kind of a store etiquette of don't bring your bad mood into the store.
Yeah.
Like I don't care what your excuse is. That's a pet peeve of mine is bad mood, bad mood. Well, X, Y, and Z. Like no, I don't care what X, Y, and Z is. Turn your shit around or be quiet. Like those are your options. I don't care that your wife left you and your dog died and they're gonna write a country song about you. Like I don't care.
Yeah. I feel like this is the happiest episode we've ever done.
Yeah.
I think it's the worst one.
Probably. Do we want to like end with talking about communism or?
I mean,
real downer. That's a future.
That's fucking better.
Tonight we were talking about the red of the color pie. No.
Just try to fucking be a decent player. Mm-hmm. Everybody, be patient with yourself. That is definitely always the thing that got me the most. Is I'm just a super hyper critical of myself all the time. I always have been, and so what fucks me up as a player is just knowing that I could have done something about it.
Yeah.
Like that's when I lose to fucking because I didn't mulligan or I mulliganed too much. Like I'm not putting it on anybody else. I'm putting that on me, and it
I remove that instead of that.
Yeah, it makes me fucking mad. It pisses me off that I fucked that up. Just be patient with yourself. Be patient with others.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can do.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I think it was a good episode.
I think so. All right, everybody.
It was decent. I still think it's the worst one we've ever done. But,
2 weeks. I mean, like I said, we can jazz this motherfucker up right now. I can keep going on Commander if you want.
I mean, we should definitely do something hate-filled next week. Or next time, but...
Well, I do want to clear up the last thing I said about Commander is not, when you're like, I think they're dumb, right? And then I follow up with my comment. I was saying Commander players are dumb. I say they had a disservice done to them by learning the game through a handicapped version of it. That's what I just want to clear that.
So John just clarified they're not only dumb, Commander players are handicapped.
Yeah. But the good news is they aren't listening to this podcast.
I'm pretty sure from like the first episode, and even just fucking listening to the stream, Commander players probably have nothing to do with this. They know none of us are huge fans.
We're gonna do a themed episode of Commander one of these days where we are not allowed to say anything negative about Commander.
One of these days we need to like...
That might not happen, but it's a thing we could do in the future.
There needs to be a Commander player guest.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you're on trial right now.
I actually love this idea, getting a Commander player guest, somebody who's got some stones, because we're going to be throwing some.
You should
get some fastballs.
You should get a couple people because there's a couple guys. Dan's a good Commander player, and he actually knows the game. And so we get somebody that knows the game that plays Commander, and then somebody that doesn't know the game as much. I'm just saying, like, I would like whoever we got. I would like to have two.
Yes,
people.
I need two people.
So there's a dynamic because there are two types of commanders. I mean, there's all kinds of commander players.
Yeah, would you say there's a spectrum?
Shut the fuck up, Jesus Christ! I didn't say they're handicapped. I said
You just said it again, John.
Oh god.
Anyway,
we can clip that.
People that are somebody that's purely casual. That just doesn't give a shit about any part of the game other than just playing fun, wacky things, and somebody that does know the game and enjoys finding their space in it, I guess. But,
my prediction for that episode is the conclusion is going to be they like about it everything that we hate about it.
Yeah. Well, pretty much.
That's the.
It'll feel kind of like trying to talk to a Christian about. They're leaving God,
Yeah, it's like you can't get through to them.
Well, I'm just. This is what I do.
Yeah,
this is my thing.
Yeah, so, I've made an executive decision, and that episode has been canceled.
See, I suggested a while ago that we try to do an episode where we just get it out of our system.
It's what it was.
Just fucking.
It was the point. It was the point where you mentioned that what we should do is have two Commander players in the booth when we do the podcast, and you started to talk, and like I kind of zoned out, and what I was thinking about was what two players, and then I started thinking about, I think I'd be sick that day. I don't see myself showing up for that episode. There's not enough room back here, and
well, you guys can have them on your laps.
Yeah, we're canceling that episode.
I mean, it is the age of technology, so we could just do a fucking.
I don't know that anybody ever believed that episode was going to happen, but
I think it would be good.
It'd be a conversation. I don't know.
It would be a conversation.
We'll do it for our 100th episode.
There you go.
Yeah.
Maybe or 1,000th.
Get there.
Or one. It'll be an even number.
Yeah.
Probably not either of those.
Yeah.
Maybe.
A very high even number.
10,000.
We'll do it for Graham's number.
I try not to rail against that particular way to play the game.
Do you?
I do try. I honestly do.
Okay, try. Got it.
I try. It doesn't work. I try.
Important words. Understood.
I just, it's to me it just feels like, I don't know what the fuck it feels like, but I just can't help myself. I try not to. I will try harder in the future, but we'll see.
We'll see. We're gonna start doing a count on it.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we could have like 5 different counters, and we could get people buzzed by the end of an episode.
Commander 8 counter, boom, oh, boo. We get some sound effects.
Yeah, shit.
No, I think I don't know. I would be interested in that episode. Just like I don't know, talking to the other side.
You have to participate. Would you be interested?
Oh no, my understanding was that they would take my seat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
so I guess it's just me.
They if they would have given us the night
me
off.
talking to 2 Commander players. See, that would
we tune in and it's just John screaming into his mic. Oh, okay. That's not
that sure as shit can't happen to me. I mean, I've got some fucking fortitude to handle that kind of conversation, but I know those people.
Chimera.
I think it would have to be me, and I don't want to do it.
I mean, honestly, nobody
grilling 2 Commander players for an hour.
Nobody would want to because everybody knows our opinion, and it's not like I haven't said everything I've ever said in this booth on the other side of that wall.
Yeah,
to every single person.
Yeah, that's true.
I've said it to everybody. Everybody knows exactly how I feel about it. I say it all the time.
I've been wanting to start coming out on Wednesdays to play a little Commander, especially if I know I'm not going to make it for Friday. But then between 6 o'clock and the 10 o'clock that didn't fire, I think last week. I played a game of Commander, or I was playing, and I heard from another table, I'll play Blood Moon. I was like,
in Commander?
yeah, in Commander.
In this place of all places?
In Commander. And I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I don't need to come out on Wednesdays and play Commander. Maybe I don't need to participate, and that's okay.
Anything that gets people playing Magic is good. So, it's good. I want... Like I said, I feel like it does them a disservice because they miss a huge swath of what the game is.
But maybe they don't want to engage with that part of the game.
And that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. And I guess that just that's what pisses me off about it, is they were just like, eh. And,
listen, John,
it's just something that I really care about.
We want to be on the big stage. We want to be LeBron and Michael and other basketball players I don't know the names of. And some people just want to play on their home court and occasionally chuck their ball at their friend's head when they're not looking.
So,
and that's okay.
I get that. And I actually don't want to be, and I never would be. I don't give a shit about being...
But you aspire to that level of competitiveness.
Yeah,
that's what you aspire to.
The mastery of the craft.
And some people don't care about the mastery.
No, and
they want to granny shot it for an extra point.
Bill Laimbeer.
That's my problem with everything.
You want to be who? What?
In the world.
Bill Laimbeer. He
Ricky Daytona. What are we talking about?
He went basketball reference.
Scottie Pippen.
I think he holds the record for the most technical fouls ever.
Bruce Lee.
Sports balls.
Oh, Dennis Rodman.
Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
The worm.
No, anything that I see as a craft, it just bums me out when people don't want to pursue the craft to its purest form. That's just me as a person. So that's just what it is.
But is the purest form of Magic not Armageddoning after your opponent plays Perplexing Chimera?
I don't feel like it is.
Okay.
It's a form of it.
That's your opinion. So you can control the Armageddon, and they can have your Perplexing Chimera?
Jesus Christ. Don't give me fucking flashbacks of Perplexing Chimera.
The purest form of Magic is playing a Crawlworm on turn 6 because you played an Elf on turn 1 after missing a land drop.
I guess it really, the pure
that's pure magic.
It shifts as per the player, and that's what I'm doing wrong in my assessment of it. Is the people that really enjoy that, or most of the people that really enjoy that, are just at that stage of that, and that's fine.
We just need to get Tim Allen out here. That's pure Michigan. That's pure magic.
Pure magic is playing 2 dark rituals on turn 2 so that you can play Nightmare.
Blake, you know who you are.
Yeah. Hey,
you were new at the time.
We talk
that's
about
okay.
that a lot of the time. Kyle Hood also played a Phyrexian Negator.
Oh, that was hilarious.
For it to get fucking flame slashed or something.
Yeah.
What is this?
Okay, so we were playing. We were playing the cube, but we were playing with the with a little.
The mana rocks that were.
No. We were playing with the everybody had their own little.
Oh, the Vanguard thing.
Vanguard, where everybody has a card. Like it's kind of like Commander, but it's not actually a card. It's just an effect. Everybody has an effect where all their cards do this. Well, Kyle had the one where all the artifacts in his deck were creatures at all times, in addition to being artifacts. Well, he drafted... You know what your Vanguard is before you draft, right? Because you want to draft around it. Well, he drafted Phyrexian Negator, which is a mana rock.
Well, it's a Phyrexian Totem, which is...
Phyrexian Totem.
Yeah.
And basically, it's a mana rock that you can pay mana to turn it into a creature until end of turn. Mm-hmm. And whenever damage is dealt to it, you sacrifice that many permanents.
Yeah. It's the original version
it's
of
a creature
all
the time.
Yeah. So yeah, he played that turn like 3 or 2, and then I flame slashed it.
Oh, Kyle. Oh, Kyle, no.
So
it was like there was like a moment where it took a couple seconds for everyone at the table to realize exactly what Kyle had just done. I don't remember, it was Patrick. Patrick Mosher was like, "Oh, Kyle, that's an awful card for your deck."
Oh no, that's pretty bad.
So as classic as the Dark Root Nightmare and the Lightning Bolt, it's just as classic to play an animated Phyrexian Totem into a flame slash.
I will never forget that. Blake, that's not legal. Also, that's not good. None of what you just did is legal. Also, Lightning Bolt. That card. The worst payoff for Dark Ritual. Yeah. The worst, might be the worst possible payoff for Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual is I care about the number of swamps you have.
Yeah. It'll be awesome in 5 minutes.
By the way,
How good would Grave Titan have been?
yeah, right.
Right.
As we're talking about players, has Zach or Blake gotten a 3-0 yet for the? Did Zach 3-0 the other night?
Huh?
To make it to the Invitational? You not keep track of that, or is that Tom?
no,
Like
Zach.
all time?
Huh?
You mean
Yeah,
for
for this Invitational.
For
Did
this
he?
invitational,
Oh, for this
Zach?
one?
Yeah, I thought he was chasing a 3-0. I thought
I
he.
think Zach Barker
So
did.
Zach has not got one, I don't
Yeah, he's
believe.
been
No,
close.
because
Yeah.
oh man, I shouldn't be saying this in the waves, but Tommy was actually bitching about the other day because he's actually got this new thing where like he I don't know if it was a 1 week thing or whatever, but he was just kind of in this mindset like if I lose round 1, I'm just not gonna play. I'm gonna drop because I can't get a point. And it's just like that's not how you get better, man.
Yeah, it's bad practice. Yeah.
I get it.
That day. I mean,
No,
especially that day,
yeah. You need reps.
You get 3-0s by getting 0-3s. You know?
Yeah, no, it's frustrating.
You get 3-0s by fucking watching how that other guy piloted it on camera.
He was brilliant.
He was a smooth
he
guy.
deserved it, man. He deserved it.
Yeah.
The sad thing about that event, our event from the weekend, was that the couple more pussies that didn't want to play. I'm not gonna apologize for it anymore. I just said it again. A couple more pussies didn't want to play at the end, and if you got a problem with me saying that, come to me and I will apologize to your face. Yeah, like we got to the end and everybody like, oh, we just want to split the prizes and go home, and so of the top 8 or 4,
Top 4.
yeah,
2 drops.
we had to like beg 2 people to play for. Like the whole thing was about getting this invitation.
You lucked
and
out.
Nobody wanted it.
Yeah,
nobody wanted it. It was so stupid.
Another fault of Wizards there.
I didn't even. Honestly, I wanted it. I didn't know until it was a cut to the top 4 that it was even Pioneer. I assumed that they were playing a real
Well,
format.
if nobody in the top 4 was going to play for it, he was gonna have like the 5th and 6th, or the they were gonna keep going down until somebody was willing to play for it, and. It's so stupid. Why do you show up to play the tournament if you don't even want to win?
Yeah.
It's so crazy. That's why I called you pussies. But anyway, my point was that I felt so good about that kid, Zachary Vincent. It was his first time putting it. Like just watching him pilot that deck early in the day. If everybody would have played the top 4, I still feel like he would have won. I really felt like he was going to win.
Playing against him. I do think I hit bad variance, but at no stage did I feel like he didn't know what he wanted to do. Like at no stage did I feel like he was fumbling a little bit. It was like, no, he knows the next decision he's going to make every time.
I had a different respect for that deck watching him pilot it.
Yeah.
And like I've never actually seen anybody do this.
Yeah,
Dude, it's really good. It's a really good deck.
It was smooth. It was. I'm gonna rewatch our match and him playing other people because like. He was 3-0-6-0 against blue white control. Yeah,
throughout the
game.
It didn't drop a game to it.
So I want to figure out like did he? And again, I'm not complaining here. I definitely hit some bad variance with him, but like the way he swept it all the time, like did he get lucky? Is the deck that good against it and I didn't realize?
Well,
like
Grist is really good and you refused to counter it. So that was actually.
I have reviewed that decision. I still think I made the right choice. But
I don't even know how you can say that. That's the most idiotic thing I've ever heard.
What are you talking about?
You lost. You lost to it.
You don't think you can make the right choices and lose?
I think you can, but
Okay.
I don't think that was the right choice, and I think you lost because you made a horrible choice.
I watched Anecdote.
You were gambling. It was a gamble. You gambled that one of the top 2 cards on your deck would answer it, and even if one of the top 2 even if you knew that one of the top 2, I still think you should have countered it.
So
you gave him. At the very least, you're giving him a dude.
Oh well.
It was just
so I was just watching Wafutapa, who's an awful streamer.
He is an awful streamer.
He's the worst. A couple times he just left. He just got up and left. I'm like, what? He didn't even say where he was going.
I was watching on Saturday morning. I got and like he was like, okay, so we won that one. I'm gonna go for a walk.
Yeah. What the fuck?
I'm gonna go for a walk
about?
before the next round.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So like the camera, but he didn't like there was no like.
We'll be right back.
It was just like the camera's just like looking at an empty chair in his house for the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's a wild thing to watch. Funny, but he had a very similar situation of he had pretty unbeatable card on the stack from his opponent, and he has land Archmage's Charm in his hand, and he goes cycle Archmage's Charm. And because he's an awful streamer, he didn't explain his decision, but he found the answer for it, was able to answer it the next turn, and ended up a card and up cards to try to win the game. And it's the same mindset I had of I can't win empty-handed from here. I'm already behind on board. I'm already behind in cards on hand. I mean, if I counter Grists, I can't beat the next 4 cards with one card off the top. I have to try to start getting something going.
With a deck that's that value-centric, I definitely... Because their tops can just be amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think that your line of play would have been correct with any card in his deck except for that one.
And maybe that's the case, but...
Because I feel like you had like outs to the board. Like I feel like a Supreme Verdict looked pretty good in like drawing. But the thing is, Supreme Verdict's not good against that card. You know, like
sure
you need to deal with that and then figure out the rest of this shit after the fact. Because
but like looking at the so let's just say I counter Grist. Top card is Steam Vents. Okay, then a Solitude, and then I think it was like land. Some counterspell Solitude. I'm like, well, that drawing those each a turn later, 2 turns later, definitely would have lost the game still.
I don't think it would have because you lost to the Grist that you let resolve.
I don't think I did.
You didn't lose to anything else. You lost to that fucking card, dude.
I'm not sure that I did, but okay.
Oh, look, you need to rewatch it.
I rewatched it once, but I'll rewatch it again.
I did the 10 hours of coverage, and everything bleeds into one big fucking ball. Like, I can't remember anything, like what happened in what round or whatever. It just all bleeds together. Mm. But I'm pretty confident that when you rewatch it, you might look at it a little different.
I've rewatched it once. I'll definitely go over it again, but which is advice to anyone who gets on camera here.
Oh, yeah.
Mute the stream if you want to. Point. Rewatch it.
Yeah.
Rewatch it
again. Yeah. That's why we do this.
Yeah, don't mute it. I mean, you got to listen to my glaring commentary. If nothing else, I'm going to make you better.
You guys are talking about theoretical cards you would like to see Wizards design.
Yeah, that was like twice.
I told John about this.
That was like twice.
Like you guys,
that's quality shit.
Late in the game when nothing's happening, I get it. But I was playing against Blue Red Murktide, and it was like turn 3, and I
didn't want to see that match.
I fired 2 things. I was like, oh, it's a 2-for-1. And the next thing is John like, I think a mana rock that cycles wouldn't be too angry. I'm like, John, that's the most broken card ever. You can't make what you're talking about. It would have to be sorcery speed. I'm like, what the fuck are you guys talking about? That was turn 3 2 for what? You couldn't last 3 turns?
I'll tell you what this was not. This was not.
Hey, I'm sure that we got back into it after that.
This event was not an FNM at 6 o'clock is what it was not. That's 10 o'clock shit right there.
But yeah, it was. I go back occasionally. I like to go back because I've noticed like I didn't fucking draw a card off to Fairy Minusing one time in a different matchup and just like sloppy play left and right. But yeah, that one makes me smile every time. Of like, it's 3 turns in, and we're making plays back and forth. You got nothing.
People like to text
conversationalists, okay? Like. That's what we are at heart. So like sometimes
it's
we're going to
hard.
start
Like,
a conversation.
So we're usually pretty good and on point at 6, but 10 o'clock, it's just like, just like it's too much. Like nobody's really watching except for the VODs, and like we're just tired, and like it's definitely a different level. But
we try.
One of my favorite things is when people will text me. Like they'll text me like. On like a Thursday, and they'll be like, so last Friday at the 10 o'clock event, like the reason that I didn't counter that, and I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. And like, honestly, I'm sorry that whatever I said, like, put that much of a damper on your fucking day, man. Like, you probably shouldn't be listening to me at 10 o'clock, you know?
Oh, there's been a couple times where it's like, a 2-minute discussion on why they didn't counter something, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know why I didn't counter either. I'm like, There's been a Teferi on the field, guys.
Oh yeah.
We've done that a couple
That gets
times.
everybody. That gets everybody.
It gets me playing the damn card.
Yeah, no, it's so stupid because it shouldn't be on there.
No,
and like,
it's
it shouldn't be
Yeah, that
part
one
of
gets
that card.
everybody.
Yeah, that one does.
All those like the
Static
they don't
abilities.
play Narset anymore, but Narset would get people too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, carding the clues and shit like that. Those cards are fucking stupid. They shouldn't be around. Like, they should not have been printed. No, we try to stay on point, man, but I mean, that's the thing. We're still trying to make it a fucking good, and we're trying to have a good time. I mean, at the end of the day, too, like, it is for the players. It is for doing the thing that we're doing, but it's also, I mean, for me at least, personally, it is a fucking release, man. Like, I literally fucking kill myself working all the time. So, yeah, I'll fucking jabber away on some dumb shit sometimes in here, and goddamn it, fuck it.
No, and that was not a complaint about the casting, because I prefer that over some of the
guy
other.
walking away and the camera pointing at their chair.
Well, over some of the coverage where they don't talk about anything, but and it's an F&M.
Did you listen to Isaiah the coverage they did for Isaiah's televised match?
I haven't been able to find it.
Oh, it's Ansid.
I've been watching his stuff because he's covering like energy stuff.
It's Ansid MTG, and it's the 20K 2. There's a 20K 1 and a 20K 2. It's the 20K 2 day 2. But anyway, the thing that was hilarious is these guys doing the commentary are doing it from like another location. Like they're taking the feed and doing commentary over it.
I've seen that.
And so the match starts off with Isaiah on a mulligan, and he finally keeps a hand, and they immediately criticize the card that he put back. Mm-hmm. And they're like, this card, like, I think that this is just a way better card against Jun Saga. I think he should have put this back, and blah, 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 and just a real poor mulligan decision from Isaiah here right from the get-go. And then, like, 3 minutes later, like, when they've each played, like, a couple lands, and he's like, and just a reminder, everybody, this is not an open decklist tournament, so these guys don't really know what each other is playing. Mm-hmm. So what the fuck were you talking about? Mm-hmm. Like, you criticize him for, like, yeah, against Jun Saga, you can't put that card back. But then you say 2 minutes later that he doesn't even know what he's playing against.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's on here. I don't think it's on YouTube yet.
Oh, it's not. No, you gotta go to Twitch. It's on Twitch.
Okay. I've been wanting to watch it.
All right. Well,
we'll stop jabbering.
We're still on the air. Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna go now.
Be decent. Etiquette.
Yeah. Next time, we promise that we'll be way less nice. Like, this was a very nice.
It was.
It was very like.
Well, that's because we're encouraging people to.
I feel kind of gross.
It's not a good feeling. I don't like this feeling.
I don't like this.
People encourage me to feel like this all the time. Fuck those people. It feels bad. It feels nasty. It feels dishonest. I don't like it.
Yeah. So join us next time. Probably in a couple weeks.
Sideboarding, most likely.
Yeah, sideboarding. Yeah, why you're terrible at mulliganing and stuff. Yeah, sideboarding and mulligans. That's probably, you never know. They might ban some shit, and then we'll have to have a conversation about that instead. But
see ya.
Yep.
Oh, are we all? Oh, okay. Bye.